10:01, good morning from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. Another free agent quarterback came off the board on Tuesday as the New York Giants signed Russell Wilson on a one-year deal worth up to $21 million, including $10.5 million guaranteed. The New England Patriots have signed wide receiver Stephon Diggs on a three-year deal worth $69 million, including $26 million in guaranteed money. Diggs tore his ACL midway through the 2024 season with the Houston Texans. And the Nashville Predators won on the road at the Hurricanes 3-2 on Tuesday. They will head back home tomorrow to host the St. Louis Blues. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home. For the Titans and Vols, this is 104.5 The Zone.
Happy Wednesday to you. Another quarterback domino falls. We're happy to have you for the next 3 hours. Bert, Lucas, and me. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. FNM Bank Chat. Also at your disposal, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. If you would like to live stream the broadcast today, the New York Giants have a quarterback. They have another quarterback. They have three so far. And right now, that still doesn't necessarily mean that they wouldn't draft one at number 3 overall, but to the quarterback room that had Tommy DeVito and Jameis Winston, they add Russell Wilson on a one-year deal worth up to $21 million, including $10.5 million guaranteed. Good morning, boys.
When do we get the first Giants Nation?
Giants, what is he going to say?
He has to lean in and
Blue
make
Nation,
it a thing.
let's ride.
Do they say that?
I don't know.
Big Blue, I feel like that's a Kentucky
Big
basketball
Blue
thing. But do they say that? Are they the BBN of football?
I think so.
I've never heard that.
Right? Don't Giants fans refer to themselves as Big Blue?
I guess so.
We're only a sports talk radio show. What do we know?
Giants Nation, let's ride.
Okay.
Russell Wilson.
I don't want that.
Is that the man that Brian Daboll and Joe Shane will push all their chips in with to save their jobs?
Because the first NFL season win totals are out, and with the addition of Russell Wilson, the Giants are tied for a league low, 4.5 over-under on the win total for the 2025 NFL season.
That would probably be the saddest storyline to watch in 2025. If that's the case, and that's who they roll with, even if it's just because they have no other option, right? Let's say Shador flies off the board at 2, Titans take a pick at 1. Watching Brian Daboll and Joe Shane try to cling for survival with Russell Wilson as their starting quarterback would have to be one of the just saddest storylines in the league this year.
That seems like a bad idea. If you're interested in job security, it doesn't seem like a great idea, but they can't be held hostage by Aaron Rodgers. I mean, they can, I guess, but for how much longer? Again, the quarterback room previously consisted of Jameis and Tommy DeVito. And I know Jameis started games here recently, and he has started many games in the NFL as being a former number 1 overall pick. But Jameis Winston is not saving your job either. Like we're not. Jameis is past the point of Sam Darnold, Geno Smith reclamation. Maybe I shouldn't put him in a different category than Geno, because Geno was like 31.
Yeah, that's true, but
Jameis, you don't think he's
Jameis
coming
is 31 now. He's 31 now.
Okay, this is the year for the Giants.
Wouldn't that be just
Nobody will see it coming. We've talked all offseason about, can you fix Zach Wilson? Would you like to try and tune up a Mac Jones here or there? How about a Jameis Winston at 31 years old with a career renaissance? I'm here for it. It's been an off season of Jameis anyway. He was the star of the Super Bowl. Why not make him
stranger things have happened.
I mean, it would be unique.
I'm disappointed you guys are all discounting Tommy DeVito in this factor. The passing paisan? Come on, dude. He's the youngest guy on the roster. He's got an actual chance to engage your viewing audience. He's from the area. Come on. We need to send those old 2 horses to the glue factory. The Tommy DeVito era needs to start now.
He's just a vibes guy.
100% a vibes guy.
He's there for the
He's
vibes.
like the broke version of Gardner Minshew. Like, he is
The
to what
broke version of
he's-
Gardner Minshew?
He is.
You think Gardner Minshew's rolling in it?
Well, not that way.
He's done all right.
He's doing all right.
He's like the light version of Gardner Minshew. He was what Gardner Minshew was to white trash. Tommy DeVito is to New Jersey trash.
You get to say that because you sound like that.
Well, I am. Those are
would
my
come off much
people.
worse.
That's where I come from.
Anthony on the
Do you know
FM.
how much worse that sentence would have gone if I was the one to say that?
Yes, the person who has no problem referencing the pores on a weekly basis is worried about calling someone white trash. Anthony on the F&M Bank chat says, my entire family except me are Giants fans. They are in shambles right now.
Sure they are.
I will say, Anthony, sounds like you should probably be a Giants fan. I'd love an explanation as to why Anthony betrayed the family and its fanhood.
So would you rather be a Giants fan or a Titans fan here recently? The Giants have Super Bowls. It's not like they're hard up here in the last 15, 20 years of professional football. They've done all right.
Since that last Super Bowl, it's been a tough
but again,
time.
the words since that last Super Bowl, and they have two, Titans fans looking around be like, please, God, just draft the quarterback.
They both have Broadway.
That's true. Anthony says, how dare I say that? I just want an explanation. That's all.
Yeah, it's not like he's front running. It's not like he went from the Giants to the Chiefs, went from the Giants to the Titans.
I just want, as the fanhood police on this show, I just want a slight
Are you really? Oh,
that's what I've been accused of.
615-737-1045 is how you jump in. So, Russ to the Giants. Now, we knew he wasn't going back to the Steelers. And so now the Steelers are the next team that everybody's kind of looking at, trying to figure out their solution at quarterback. Speaking of Vegas win totals, the Titans right now on ESPN Bet, it's the first place that I've seen 2025 season win totals. If you wanted to get an early wager in, Titans at 5.5 after last year, you remember last year, us turning our nose up at 6.5 and just be like, 6.5 wins?
Crazy low.
These idiots, what do they know? You should trust the local people. Boots on the ground reporting 6.5 wins. But
these dopes are having the Titans with the number 1 pick in the draft. That's crazy.
That's right. That did happen.
We were really mad about that. Yeah. In August of 2024. Like, what are they? These people don't know anything. You're mocking the Titans as the number 1 pick? That's not going to happen.
We need to stop admitting this into microphones. Surely our bosses aren't listening today, because if they would be, we would all be fired. 5.5, I don't know. 6.5 last year felt ridiculous. 5.5 feels like a tremendous victory. If they were to win 6 games, we would be showering them in praise. Cam Ward would be the savior of the franchise, because that's how bad things are here right now, or have been. We'll see how much better or worse they can get in the upcoming season. But to this point, beyond the hope of, oh, thank God, we've lost enough games to get the number 1 overall pick and try and really jumpstart this thing. And now the high that Titans fans seem to be on about, oh, well, we have a quarterback. We think we have a quarterback. You're going to take the quarterback, right? You better.
So Adam Schefter tweets yesterday at 12:06 p.m. that the Titans will hold an additional private workout with Cam Ward. They've become increasingly impressed with Ward. They're expected to listen to offers for the number 1 pick, but it would take an even stronger package to acquire that selection. And only a few hours later, Russell Wilson to the Giants on the same day.
Fair to expect that those have connections. Now, doesn't mean that Cleveland can't do it. And by the way, what is New York going to do at 3 if the Browns take Shedeur? Just say, yeah, all right, whatever. We'll just take the next one. You're going to take Dart at 3? Charles Davis has mentioned that before.
It could end up with the best player in the draft at 3.
Talking about the best prospect in the draft, whether that be Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, I think, reasonable minds could debate about those two players. But that doesn't save anybody's job. And it's not like, if you're Joe Shane, I know how I would answer this question. If the two of you, who's the coach and the GM between Robert and Bert?
Between Robert and Bert. Oh, I like this. This is like an alter ego situation.
Robert and Lucas.
No. Let's keep it on this thread. Between Robert and Bert, who's the head coach and who's the GM?
Reasonable.
I would say Bert would have to. Bert is a head coach sounding name. Bert would be a good head coach. Robert would probably get fired in his first year.
Yeah, Robert's
manager.
a suit. Yeah.
Well, they would also find out that he's faking it till he makes it, and you don't get that much opportunity in the NFL.
So if Lucas was the coach and Robert was the GM, and they were in an embattled situation heading into a season where their ownership group as an NFL coach and general manager have publicly expressed, my patience is kind of running out. And you work in the New York marketplace, which is not a very forgiving media environment.
I'm blaming Lucas. It's all his fault.
But are you doing it publicly or are you doing it backhandedly by leaking things to the media?
I am leaking multiple things to the media.
Okay. But what would you leak? What
I would
be
leak
the first thing that you would
I would leak the obnoxious burps he does. I almost know every day when he's coming into the studio because he lets out one into the microphone really quick.
It's violent.
That's not
It
true.
sounds like it hurts.
That's not true.
I would leak that to the media. I would leak that he eats other people's lunches out of the company fridge.
Also not true. That is, now you're just projecting.
Well, he's
100%.
blaming you for the
I'm
things
trying to get you fired.
Yeah, you're trying to get me fired for your sins.
He's actively undermining you. That's how this works. Did you not watch Hard Knocks with the Browns?
If we were in charge of the Giants, who do you think would have the support of the Italian-American population of the fan base?
He's a fake Italian. He's Brazilian.
They already have their token Italian. It's DeVito.
Yeah, you're right.
It comes full circle. You're not safe. That one plays quarterback. What do you do? But if you ended up, are you taking the third best player in the draft just because that's what's best for the franchise? If the two of you are probably going to get fired at some point in time? Maybe you like to think that you're more noble than I think you are, but I think the two of you are going to draft a quarterback and try and save your ass.
No, I would trade the farm. So whoever they want to hire after me, it is a much worse job because you have no assets. You might as well keep me. You might as well let me play in the mess that I made.
I kind of like that. And then at that point, are you just cutting Jameis Winston? Are you keeping three
Jameis
quarterbacks? I know, it's not this end-all, be-all. Yeah, I mean, you waste what, like $4 million if you cut Jameis Winston, but it's an interesting, approach.
You could cut Tommy DeVito in that situation.
You would for sure cut Tommy DeVito. Tommy DeVito exists because he sells merchandise. That's the only reason that Tommy DeVito exists in the New York market.
They've got to hate Drew Lock right now.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, Drew Lock. This is all Drew Lock's fault.
All right, we're going to make things smarter. Coach Doug Matthews, the future, is Doug in any Hall of Fames? Blaine's in like 5.
Yeah, Blaine's racking them up.
At this point in time. But he's getting ready to go into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. Coach Doug Matthews will make us smarter about the Vols and the SEC coming up next. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. So we have a lot of smart people that come in here and basically have to babysit Lucas and I from time to time. We have yet to rope Coach Doug Matthews in at the same time when Lucas and I are both here. Coach Doug Matthews joins us now on 104.5 The Zone. Of course, you can hear him on Forklift Systems Football Saturday. You can hear him on Bighorn Sunday. You know Doug Matthews more than you know us because he's been doing this for a lot longer than us, and he's better at it than us, and we're happy to have you here, Coach.
Well, thank you very much.
Of course.
Next time I make a speech, I'm going to bring you along to introduce me.
Well, it's just, low bar around here. You know what I'm saying?
We will never be in any Hall of Fame.
Anything that you can do. Yeah, that's right. Of Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer upcoming. We're excited about the induction. Congratulations, of course, to you and your family. I know that's an awesome situation that Brad Willis has been a part of and got to surprise you guys both on the air. And the ceremony itself is July the 19th, I believe.
Correct.
And we're looking forward to being a part of that with 104.5 The Zone. Doug, I mean, I know you've talked about that a lot on your own, but that's just, it's such a cool and such an awesome thing to go in with such a impressive class.
Well, it is. I've been to many of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fames, watched a lot of good buddies, good friends. One kind of, I think, interesting thing that's I'm very proud of, 1985 team that won the Sugar Bowls, as they're called, won the Sugar Bowl, and, of course, the SEC championship. Actually, 11 on-the-field coaches at that time. With my going in this year, 7 of them are in the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. So kind of tells you a little bit about that staff and several players, by the way, including Charles Davis, who's on with you all some and on with me every Saturday. But it's nice. It really is. It's a lot of good folks in it. And I certainly appreciate Brad and that group of committee that voted me into this.
Well, we're happy to have you too as well because we've got spring ball back, and it's been a really exciting 2024 season for the Vols. Obviously, the goal is always a national championship, but to appear in the college football playoff and continue to build momentum towards that has got us all excited about getting that thing back up and running and spring ball back underway. I guess for you, when you look at the transition that last year's team is going to have to go through to get to the same spot and continue to improve on what last year's team was able to build, given that they're going to have a lot of different pieces and parts, but some pretty critical leadership or people involved in the leadership here coming back. How do you see this going, and what's the degree of difficulty that Josh Heupel and his staff are up against?
Well, this will be a more talented team. But a lot of the talent is going to be those first and second year players. Second year, some redshirt, some sophomores. They did lose some quality starters from last year, almost all of them in the offensive line, some on defense. But this is a talented group. I think quarterback position will be better, and I think it's been really good. Nico now he has 14 starts under his belt. He's a redshirt sophomore, so it's in his third year. Very few quarterbacks anywhere in major college football do well their freshman or second year. I thought he had a good year last year. He certainly, I think, will improve on that. And this is going to be a much more, as I said, experienced team, veteran team. I think it will be built, and I'll be talking about this a lot on Sunday. This is a team that's going to be similar to last year from the standpoint. It is going to be defense-driven and kicking game-driven, and then do what you can do on offense. I thought Coach Heupel last year went away, and I think rightfully so, from his fast, full speed all the time, trying to throw the ball down the field, and played more to his team's strength, which was defense and kicking. That will be true again this year. I believe this defense has an opportunity to be really, really good. Really the only positions that they lost were in the defensive line, but Coach Gardner has played so many players up there that they'll have, I think, 10 or 11 guys who have actually started games in that front four. So secondary, I think, will be improved. Linebackers, everybody's back. You got things to do. But, of course, the other thing is you all know, guys, this league is tough, and it will be tougher next year because the same teams that were good last year are going to be good again this year. And then you got Florida coming on. LSU is going to be better, you would have to suspect. Arkansas, I think, will be a challenge for everybody. It's a tough league. But you know what? these guys know what they're getting into. 16 teams, probably be at the end of the year another 7 or 8 who are in the running for the college football playoff. So it's and this is the busiest time of year. One quick thing that has changed so much in spring now. Because of the early enrollees that now come to every school, let's just take Tennessee, for example. They have 23 of their high school signees for the 2025 season who should be in their final semester in high school. They're on the football field now. And so they are learning things quicker. Athletes are coming out of school better prepared because of the high school coaching. And those young men, last year was the first year since Coach Heupel, the 4 years he's been there, he actually started a freshman somewhere in his 22 starters. That, of course, is Boo Carter. I don't think there'll be any start, but there's, I think, going to be a good handful of them to play, and it's because of that experience that they're getting now in spring practice.
Coach Doug Matthews is here with us in studio. I don't have to tell you that. You know that voice. Talking Vols with us on 104.5 The Zone.
Well, and one of those freshmen, Coach, David Sanders Jr., the offensive tackle, he's part of this new world that Nico is surrounded by, right? Replacing 4 starters on the offensive line, Brew McCoy, Dante Thornton out the door at wide receiver, a lot of new unproven names, not a ton of returning production at receiver. And Nico himself has talked a lot about that challenge for him, that next step of taking ownership as a leader, having a louder voice in the locker room, on and off the field, just kind of being more, I don't know, present in that way. Has that been a big discussion with the coaching staff? Is Nico that being a big part of the next step for him as he tries to take a big leap in 2025?
Well, they fully realize that. He realizes that. His skill level around him, he lost the SEC Offensive Player of the Year running back. You don't replace those guys. I think they're still going to be solid there. Wide receiver, really that was not a strength of the team last year. It's got some young guys there, but they're going to have to come along, and you don't know about them until they get in big ball games, and particularly SEC games, and especially SEC road games. But I know that Coach Heupel feels really good about where Nico is. He is a young man who can make plays with his arm, with his leg. He's smart. And again, with 14 starts under his belt now, he's coming in, and he knows now that he has to be the leader on the offensive team. You lost those 3 or 4 offensive linemen, Cooper Mays being one of them, who probably was the leader of the offensive group. Nico's got to take that mantle up now, and I think he will. He realizes that. That's the reason you come to a place like Tennessee. He knew coming in, as all these other quarterbacks know too, they're expected to play at an extremely high level because that's what this offense demands.
So he's trying to find connections with these wide receivers. He already has some with Chris Brazzell, right? Mike Matthews, who, not in terms of production, but we know his talent level and the leap he could take this year. But is there one player in that room that you really have your eye on as somebody that you'd love to see really emerge for this team as they try to kind of fill out those spaces at receiver?
I think the one young man that I am really interested in looking at, he isn't in the wide receiver room, is Ethan Davis at tight end. He is a third-year player now, redshirt sophomore, redshirt freshman, redshirt sophomore. He has the talent at tight end to do things that Tennessee hasn't had since Jason Witten was there. He can go deep. He can stretch the field. He is tremendously athletic. He's been playing behind some veteran tight ends. He'll probably be second team this year behind Kitzelman, but again, I suspect Tennessee will do what they've done much in the past. They'll play a lot of 2 tight ends, but he's the one player. Certainly Mike Matthews, Brazzell has shown what he can do. Staley is a player that has that ability. I think the Jefferson youngster who transferred in from Alabama, who was a top high school recruit out of Baylor School in Chattanooga, and went because of Nick Saban, went to Alabama, and when Nick Saban left, he came back up here. But Ethan Davis is the one guy that can be a special type player. He is a handful to handle. He has the speed to be able to maneuver against any linebacker, and he has the size and physicality if he's matched up against a strong safety or a cornerback. So I think they'll utilize him a lot in the passing game.
You mentioned, obviously, the turnover on the roster, and turnover is a part of college football every year, certainly with the transfer portal at this point in time. But the offensive line in particular, how important was it for the staff to get David Sanders Jr. to commit?
Big time. From a NIL standpoint, he's extremely well compensated, non-producing player yet. In other words,
funny how that works on the college end now, huh?
In other words, the old word potential, that old French word that that you use so much. But you feel like he's got to play. Number one, I've had the opportunity to watch him on the practice field. He's big, he's fast, he's quick, he's young, but I don't know that he'll start. But I would be very surprised if he doesn't play a whole lot. Again, just the mere fact that they're paying him what they're paying him, you can't let a guy like that sit on the bench. And they're not paying a guy that they don't think can do it. Offensive line is a question mark, no doubt. 6 of the 7 players who played almost all of the snaps in meaningful games in the offensive line last year are gone. The only one who returns is Lance Hurd. They did bring in a couple of guards who I think Moe and Pendleton, who in all likely will start there. Probably going to start a redshirt freshman at center right now. Other tackle will probably be Larry Johnson III, who's a junior college player, but that's been there a while. But that's one area. They really have some really good young players, but they haven't been able to develop them playing-wise like I'm sure they would like to. But that is the huge emphasis. The 2 areas that I personally am looking at in spring, I think defense is going to be fine. I think running back, when it's all said and done, will be fine. Tight end will be fine. But the offensive line and wide receiver, those are areas who I think any Tennessee fan would have to have some concern simply because very, very few of those that are going to be out there have played at all. Brazel's played a good bit. Kitselman's played a good bit. Hurd's played a good bit at tackle, and the rest of them haven't played hardly at all. So, we don't know. The coaches have a good idea, but you just do not know how those players are going to play when you kick it off in front of 100,000 folks.
Compensation factoring into playing time, though, now, Doug. I mean, I know that's the world that we live in, but it's a crazy thing to talk about.
Buck, so much. I like to talk to Dave McGinnis about this. Had him on the show, Saturday show, because Dave has been in both worlds. He was 11 years in college coaching. Of course, he was in the NFL at a very high level, defense coordinator, head coach in the NFL. And while the NFL model was general manager, there are now general managers in college athletics. It's not the same job description. But what is the same is now that when you bring in and pay the freshmen, just like bringing in a rookie, if they're making a lot of money, and remember, in college, nothing's slotted. In the NFL now, all the rookie contracts are slotted. If you're making what some of these young men are making, they have to be able to play unless you got a head coach there who is really, really secure in his job. So I think David Sanders will be one of them. I would not be surprised if there's I think they have a tight end, the Braum youngster, or Brame, he may pronounce it Brame. I saw him playing the Polynesian Bowl. He's a good-looking youngster out of Kansas. I'm sure there's some others that haven't been identified yet. Tennessee's had 5 spring practices now, and they'll have their 6th tomorrow. So they're about halfway through spring. But spring is always about this. It's always about players. It's not about the team because you're not playing a game at the end. Fall is about the team. So I remember the head coaches I worked for, and one thing I really preached when I was a coordinator is in spring, if you're going to make this team, you're going to make it this spring, because next fall when we get here, we got a few practices. We may look at you a little bit, but we got to get ready for that 12-game schedule. So spring is so very, very vitally important, and not only Tennessee but every place.
Coach Doug Matthews hanging out talking Vols and spring ball with us on 104.5 The Zone.
And one of those players that they're getting a look at, Coach, now on both sides of the ball is Boo Carter, who has gotten some of those reps at slot receiver that seemingly was a big piece, a big reason why he returned to Tennessee, did not enter the portal because he was going to get that opportunity playing defensive back and wide receiver. How much does the coaching staff, in your mind, like Boo Carter at wide receiver, and how realistic is it that we genuinely get to see him make an impact on that side of the ball when the games start in 2025?
Well, first off, I don't think he was going anywhere. But, with the Hunter youngster out in Colorado and all the publicity, rightfully so, that he got, there's very few guys out there like that. They're working him a little bit on defense. I'm sure they've told him that they are going to look at maybe playing him over there some. He certainly could play there, no question about that. But I think the one sticking point with that is he plays that star position, that nickel position, and he's really the only player that they have there right now that has any experience at all. So it's not a position that you can play both ways. What Hunter did was unbelievable, really. He played over 100 snaps a game. So I think that we'll utilize him there, probably some. He'll be a slot guy. They'll probably have 2 or 3 plays, maybe some reverses. He's going to be a guy they're going to get the ball to on kick returns, for sure. Very talented. Again, the only true freshman that Coach Heupel has started in the 4 years he's been there. And those first couple of years, he probably had some positions that he maybe needed to play in, but that's how confident they were with this guy. He's very unusual, though. He's a very confident young man, to say the least. If you're on an opponent's team, I'd say he's probably cocky, but he's confident. He thinks he can do about anything. He doesn't take set in the back of the line for nobody. He's pushy. He's a guy that probably, if I was playing, I may not like him a whole lot from that standpoint, but he can make some plays. And he played the star position, that nickel position on defense, is one of the very toughest to play on the whole team, because not only do you have to cover a slot receiver, who normally is very athletic, you've got to be able to blitz off the corner. You got to be a good tackler in the running game. And he played it at a pretty darn high level. He wasn't perfect by any means, but he is a talented young man.
Speaking of Colorado, Dion brought up recently, Coach, the idea of bringing in other schools or competing with other schools when it comes to spring games. And, it's a novel concept and it's certainly interesting. I wonder what you kind of make of the idea of that.
Look, I've talked about that for the last few years. From this standpoint, I think it's great. Nobody has the people to play spring games, even though they call them spring games or not spring games, because nobody has the people to play.
Right.
They got the seniors to go. You got players that are injured, that are coming off injury. You got, third and fourth year starters. So you're not going to play in a spring game. You know what they can do. I thought something like, just for an example, and to kind of take the pro model on this, when they have teams come in and practice, maybe come in on a weekend. Let's just say Tennessee and Virginia Tech. Those are 2 schools that are 3-4 hours away, 2 different conferences. Maybe, if nothing else, maybe meet in Bristol and have a spring game, or do a home and home, or have maybe a day or 2 practice before you have a spring, not game, but a scrimmage. I think it makes a lot of sense. You could raise a little money, and maybe Tennessee used to do their spring game, may still do it, where the money they made went to the band. Maybe you would use it for some other financial not a problem that he had, but I'm all for that. I think Dion's exactly right. And just speaking about him, we if you watched him play, he kind of played in an era where we're not supposed to do what he did.
Yeah.
But I tell you, the guy makes a lot of sense to me, and he's obviously a heck of a football coach, and he certainly can recruit. But I like a lot of the things he says. I kind of sat back and say, you know what? That's not all that bad idea.
Well, he's just a football lifer, Coach. I mean, and people like you, I'm sure, appreciate that, because he knows the ins and outs of every level of the sport that way. And, of course, he carries himself in a different way than most people do, but he backs it up.
He does. And the other thing that I really like about him is he is a disciplinarian along with being a player's coach. I mean, he'll set them on the bench, and he'll tell them, don't do that again. And he'll tell them that in front of people, too. So does it with his own sons. So, but I like him. I like him a lot. I really do. I think he's going to be, whether he wants to or not, and I think he wants to, he is going to be a voice in college football. Kirby Smart's probably that guy in the Southeastern Conference now, since Nick Saban's no longer there. But people are going to go to what Dion has to say, and I think he thinks things through. He has a really good, and I mean this in a very positive way, football mind.
Yeah.
You're right. He's a football lifer.
Coach Doug Matthews has been kind enough to hang out here with us in studio. Doug, I know you're a busy guy, but we'd love to have you in more often. If you care to sink down to this level from time to time.
Well, you all do a great job.
That's not true. That's the first line Doug Matthews
just take the compliment.
It is life.
No, you really do. I enjoy listening, and I am so fortunate, as you all know, and you all are the same way. We work for a company. You know, I don't know if people know this or not. 2.5 million people can hear this radio signal. 2.5 million. Now, that includes going up into Kentucky. Now, that all 2.5 million, they'll listen to this show. They're not listening on weekends for me, but they will listen to this show. But we're so fortunate, I think, to work for a company like Cumulus. I know I am. I've got a great deal here. It's good for both of us. I'm able to purchase my time and, you know, have people on that I want to have on. And at that stage in my life, that's important. But it is. This is an outstanding company. I think this station puts out a lot of good information, and you all do a great job. You know, you're just the opposite of me, Buck.
Well, I know that.
No, I mean, you're an all-pro guy. I don't talk any pro.
Yeah.
You know, I'm an all-college guy. But you do a great job. And, of course, Lucas has come along. For a soccer guy, he does pretty well.
For a soccer guy. Coach
Anyway,
Doug
thanks for having me, though. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. You can hear him on Saturday mornings. You can hear him on Sundays as well. Big Orange Sunday, Forklift Systems Football Saturday. Check out the podcast. The podcast is must listen if you are doing something on Saturdays and you may not be able to get to a radio. Doug has it for you on demand as well. Thank you, Coach. That's the main man with us. You have observations, speaking of the SEC?
I sure do. Pretty
There
SEC heavy Sweet 16.
All right.
The Sweet 16 is upon us. It starts tomorrow. 7 of the 16 teams left in the men's NCAA tournament are out of the SEC. At least 6, or at most, I should say, 6 could advance. Obviously, Kentucky and Tennessee are going head-to-head. I have this article up on The Athletic by Max Meyer talking to Caesar Sportsbook officials that bettors are loving the SEC. Money is pouring in on Arkansas and Kentucky as underdogs going into Thursday and Friday's games. 4 SEC teams are favored in these games. It's going to kick off at 6:09 p.m. Thursday. Bama and BYU in Newark at Prudential Center. Bama, a 5.5-point favorite. Florida, a 6.5-point favorite against Maryland. Arkansas, a 5.5-point underdog against Texas Tech. People are loving the idea of John Calipari as a 10-seed Cinderella in the Sweet 16.
You tried to tell me it wasn't a Cinderella, and you're flatly wrong.
It's as much of a Cinderella as we have, but it's Coach Cal. It is a national championship winning coach.
Tom Brady was a Cinderella with the Bucs, baby. If he can do it, so can Cal.
Tennessee, 4.5-point favorites over Kentucky. Auburn, 9.5-point favorites over Michigan. That is the biggest spread that you have here in the Sweet 16. And Ole Miss are underdogs against Michigan State, 3.5-point dogs in that one. How about this? I mean, the Auburn and Michigan matchup, you've got Auburn and Michigan. Winner plays either Michigan State or Ole Miss. All 4 head coaches in that sort of little bracket have been to a Final Four. In Chris Beard, Tom Izzo, Dusty May, and Bruce Pearl. So very, very loaded there in terms of coaching talent. And then you've got Tennessee and Kentucky, the only SEC on SEC matchup this weekend, 6:40 on Friday. You can hear it right here on The Zone, courtesy of the Vol Network. All the other action on here as well, courtesy of Westwood One, as Tennessee obviously tries to avenge the 2 losses against Kentucky in the regular season, where we've talked about the difference in the three-point shooting. And we'll get into the numbers on that a little bit during the SEC Stat of the Day on Friday. But Tennessee has been marginally better shooting the 3 since those losses to Kentucky. And it's really just a perplexing thing because Tennessee has had the best three-point defense in the SEC, one of the best three-point defenses in the country all season long. Yet Kentucky came along and shot 50% in both games against Tennessee from beyond the arc. So is this going to be a law of averages thing where it kind of balances out in Tennessee's favor, or will it just continue down that path of Kentucky bucking that trend of Tennessee being elite defending the three-point line? Don't know. That's at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. I'm also curious about the fan contingent and what that looks like on Friday.
How scared are you?
I feel so weirdly good about this weekend.
Why?
I kind of had this feeling about this team going into the tournament. I have not felt
Tennessee?
this way. Yes, I have not felt this way about Tennessee teams. I mean, even last year, the way they were bounced in the SEC tournament against Mississippi State gave me all sorts of bad vibes going into the tournament. We were just coming off the second-round disaster against when they lost to Michigan. I guess that was 2 years prior to last year's run. But still, I mean, the dust hadn't really settled on that for me. All the narratives about Rick Barnes not winning in March. But I don't know what it is about this team. They've had leadership before, right? They say you got to be old to go deep in March. That's one of the cliches. You got to have good guard play. You got to be old. And Tennessee has all those things, but they've had those things before. Santiago Vescovi, Josiah Jordan-James were there forever before their eligibility expired last year. But something about the mental makeup of this team with Ziegler and Meshack kind of spearheading that veteran leadership that just has me kind of relaxed that if they lose this weekend, I think it's going to be because they lost in a knockdown, drag-out game against a team that was just better on that day, not because they went ice cold or couldn't buy a bucket which was the case against Michigan in that second-round game a couple years ago, against FAU in the Sweet 16 a couple years ago. I don't know what it is. Maybe that's a bad thing, that I'm just sitting here kind of at peace. A little bit of serenity for me going into this weekend. And I am a big believer in law of averages and that it's tough to beat a team 3 times in a season, especially this Tennessee team. So I don't know, man. The BVS is not flaring up at the moment.
See what I did to him, Bert? You keep telling me that
you unzipped me. You unzipped me.
You two. That you two have, you keep telling me that the two of you have these moments of stupidity imaging that you've done to me twice. Now we have like a 3-minute diatribe from Lucas if the Vols lose against Kentucky that we can just hit him over the head with.
I wouldn't do that to you, Luke.
It's okay.
Coward.
So yeah, I don't know what it is. I just feel okay about this team going into Friday's game. Maybe at 6:37 p.m., 2 minutes before tip-off, I'll be pulling my hair out and just be an absolute BVS mess. But as of right now, I feel okay with the mental makeup of this team and how they're playing through the first 2 rounds.
All 4 1 seeds are left. Ross is a Duke fan. How do you feel about your basketball team right now? Because I still think I'd take the 2 SEC 1 seeds over them.
I definitely feel very good. Cooper Flagg, the main thing I was looking for in the first weekend was Cooper Flagg's health, and I mean, he looked as good as you could expect probably for this point. We still have Malik Brown out, who's probably the best defender on our team, and I hope he gets back, but I like the matchup with Arizona, and I don't know, like BYU and Bama, they're just teams that try to outscore you, and our defense has been top 5 all season, so I feel pretty good, but it's also March, so anything could happen.
All right, now say your line.
Why?
No.
Oh.
Cause Big Ross said so.
Big Ross said
Big
so.
Ross
I like
says so? No.
Had to make it fit.
He doesn't get to be Big Ross yet.
Okay, how would you like to make it fit? What would his Stone Cold variety be?
Why are you asking me wrestling questions when you know the only thing I know about Stone Cold Steve Austin is that he has 2 cats?
Red Hot Ross Johnston.
I like that. I like Red Hot Ross. It's got the alliteration as a part of it, too.
Now, Ross's team did beat their most hated rival 3 times this season.
Yes.
Duke beat North Carolina.
Right. North Carolina, who
3 times.
famously was not a good enough team to even be in the NCAA tournament.
Fair enough.
I don't know, man. We'll see. I'm weirdly confident. John Calipari, by the way, did say on the Pat McAfee show that Adu Thiero will be available against Texas Tech. That's a big development. He said only to play 12 to 15 minutes. So limited availability for a guy that averaged over 15 points and 6 rebounds per game this year. So we'll see how the SEC fares in the Sweet 16. On the women's side, by the way, 6 out of the 16 teams out of the Southeastern Conference, and the only SEC on SEC matchup also involves Tennessee. Lady Vols against Texas. Another battle for the real UT happening at 2:30 Saturday afternoon.
That's a tough one for the Lady Vols.
No doubt. 1 seed Texas has been phenomenal all year long. That game's being played in Birmingham. Tennessee trying to get to the Elite Eight.
How do we feel about Ross 316? That's a wrestling thing.
You got to educate me on all these things.
Stone Cold, you thump your Bible and you talk about your John 3:16. Well, Austin 3:16 says, I just whipped your ass. And that's where it all started, after he won the King of the Ring tournament.
Ross 316 has a ring to it.
What would Ross 3:16 mean?
I don't know. Is he going to shut off your microphone?
He can't do that to me.
We can work on it. Coming up next, we are going to give things away. What do I have to give away, Bert?
2 tickets to see Kane Brown in April.
All right. If you call in 615-737-1045 and tell us what the dumbest thing in sports this week is, we'll send you to Kane Brown. That's next.
It is 11:01. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. Another free agent quarterback is off the board as the New York Giants signed Russell Wilson on Tuesday, a one-year deal worth up to $21 million, including $10.5 guaranteed. It'll be Russell Wilson's third team in as many years, going from Broncos to Pittsburgh to now the New York Giants. Also, the New England Patriots have signed wide receiver Stephon Diggs on a 3-year deal worth $69 million, including $26 million in guaranteed money. Diggs coming off an ACL injury that he suffered midway through the 2024 season with the Houston Texans. He will be 31 at the start of the season. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
For the opportunity to win 2 tickets to Kane Brown. When's that show coming up, Bert?
Are we going to go see Kane Brown? You only get 1 ticket, though. You have to take me with you.
Oh, we are going to go see Kane
Yeah,
Brown.
whoever wins this week gets to take me to go see Kane Brown.
Yeah, I don't think that's how that works.
What do you mean?
We are going to leave Bert at home. We are going to give you 2 tickets, but only if you call us 615-737-1045 and give us the dumbest thing in sports.
That's my
week.
dumbest thing in sports this week.
I wanted tickets recently that you guys wouldn't let me have.
You are a grown-ass man. If you want to falute all down to Atlanta to go see Dua Lipa on your own, that's fine. I would also like to go, but Bert ain't made out of money. My sugar mama ain't been putting the sugar in the tank lately. So I'm over here eating tuna fish sandwiches for lunch.
He did. He ate one this morning.
No,
I'm about to eat another one as soon as we go to break after this.
that's not for lunch. The radio show starts at 10 a.m. What time did you eat a tuna fish sandwich?
Like 8:30.
That's disgusting.
His body clock's still on morning radio
I'm
time, right?
hungry. I'm
Leave him alone.
hungry.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what he tells himself when he wakes up amidst a pile of like Taki bags or whatever. What are those Takis?
Oh, I could go for some Takis.
This morning, y'all ever buy those containers of like pre-peeled grapefruit? Like it's just the fruit from the grapefruit, but you don't have to deal with the bitterness of the hull at all.
Oh, no.
They're killer.
That's
they,
great.
They are killer. And last night I housed a half of one of them.
In the middle of the night?
In the middle of the
That's
night.
what you sleep ate?
Make it one word.
I like that.
Sleet.
Sleet?
I was. That's what I was sleeting last night.
Sleeting. 615-737-1045. What's the dumbest thing in sports this week? I was undecided this morning, but I think I've decided on people who made FCC complaints about the Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl halftime performance. I don't know why this is just now becoming public information, but apparently the Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl halftime, and listen, I get that not everybody likes rap. Maybe not everybody likes Kendrick Lamar. You could like rap and not like Kendrick Lamar. You can have whatever reasons for not being, that not being your favorite Super Bowl performance of all time. Have no issue with that. What I do have an issue with is 125 people complaining to the FCC about the performance itself, saying that there was too much crotch grabbing. Did you happen to notice gratuitous crotch grabbing?
Couldn't take my eyes off of it.
In the Kendrick Lamar performance, I guess it was mostly just because people didn't like the music itself. Apparently, some people who were Drake fans submitted complaints to the FCC to see if they could get Kendrick because they didn't like that they were bringing the beef to the halftime Super Bowl show. I don't know how many people watch the Super Bowl every year off the top of my head, but I'm assuming 125 people submitting complaints is a very, very small percentage. But those people are still dumb, and they deserve public shame. And you should be able to grow up and get through the Super Bowl halftime performance like you never seen a rap show before. Chill.
It is quite a polarizing thing, the Super Bowl halftime show. The opinions
Gratuitous crotch grabbing made me laugh out loud this morning when I read it on TMZ.
Don't you remember when Janet Jackson had her breast exposed? Wasn't nobody calling up there complaining about that?
No, I don't know. That they went away
That
from
that really upset Lucas. I remember I went to daycare the next day. That's how old I was. Went to daycare the next day, and that's all anybody could talk. That's the first boob any of us ever saw. We were like comparing notes.
Right.
Did you see the same thing I saw? I mean,
we were comparing notes.
daycare.
You got a bunch of kindergartners scribbling down. What was that? Was that a star around that thing?
I didn't know what I was looking at. I was trying to get a road map.
Yeah, they went on a run of Rolling Stones and The Who and Tom Petty and Bruce Springsteen after that.
They dusted out all the 60-year-old rock acts after that and said, we're gonna prune this thing up real quick.
That's right.
So people bent out of shape about the Kendrick Lamar halftime show continue to be the dumbest thing in sports.
My dumbest thing in sports is Arkansas State head coach Butch Jones. Thought we were done with him. Was very content to just keep him over there in Jonesboro, never hear from him again. And then this was Butch Jones sitting down with a podcast talking about his experience at Tennessee on the Coaches and the Mouth podcast in Arkansas.
At the University of Tennessee and had a great experience there in the Southeastern Conference. We find out about life in the SEC going into our last year at Tennessee. We were 15-4 in our last 19 games. Had won 3 straight bowl games. Had finished in the top 10, I believe, 2 years in a row. And you're sitting at 4-6. And, we had lost, I want to say, 15 players to the National Football League. It's the first time in about 17 years that they had that. And our program just wasn't quite where we could sustain that. We had to continue to build, and we did have the number 1 recruiting class in the country at the time. J.C. Horn, number 1 overall pick. Michael Penix was our quarterback. Adrian Martinez was our other committed quarterback. So we had nailed it pretty good, but life in the SEC 4-6, and, you find yourself unemployed and you're sitting there, and, I said to myself, you got to be willing to make yourself comfortable being uncomfortable.
Oh, life in the SEC. It was so unfair to Butch Jones. Sitting there at 4-6, staring down the barrel of the worst season in program history. Where to even begin with that? Let's see. Finished top 10 back-to-back years. Nope, not even really close, to be honest. Tennessee would be in the top 10 early in those years, but they would crater. They would lose to a 6-6 South Carolina with the SEC East basically in hand. They would lose to Vanderbilt on the road, costing themselves a trip to the Sugar Bowl, and then fall very much outside of the top 10 in both of the seasons he's referring to, 2015 and 2016. 15 players to the NFL, Butch, after the 2016 season? Not even close. Buck, how many players do you think were drafted from Tennessee from that 2016 team?
Just tell me.
2017 draft, 6. 6 players were drafted out of Tennessee.
Yeah.
There are programs every year that lose 10 or more players to the NFL draft.
Like
6 were drafted.
Is so crippling.
Right. 3 were undrafted free agents.
Brick by brick.
Crippling. J.C. Horn, the number 1 overall pick. Also very much not the case. First round pick, sure, but inaccuracies just littered across that thing. And it makes sense. I mean, the Butch Jones experience at Tennessee can be summarized like this. You're at a restaurant and you order a cheeseburger and the waiter brings you a slider. And it's like, okay, that tasted good. Like, I got a sample of what I want, but I'm starving. It's a tiny little slider. It's like it's barely the size of my fist. I wanted a cheeseburger.
You go out to dinner, you go to a small plates restaurant, they're serving you like tiny little, like a $50 slice of steak that's just on a plate with a little bit of sauce on the side next to it, maybe a little garnish.
Yeah, that's right. They give you 1 chicken nugget. That's right. You order the chicken marsala, and the waiter brings you a chicken nugget. Like, okay, I can eat a chicken nugget, but I'm starving. And then the waiter's looking at you saying, oh, this isn't good enough for you? You're not appreciative of this? Butch Jones won a couple of Gator Bowls and a Music City Bowl and claimed it was the best 2 to 3 year run in the last 20 years at Tennessee, which included at that time a span where they won the national championship, won multiple SEC East titles. And I'm going to stop now because I'll just keep going. Butch Jones, the dumbest thing in sports this week.
Did that feel good? I feel like you needed to get it out.
Yeah, that felt good.
That was so long.
Now the BVS is back.
Bert, I wanted to let him get through it because I figured that, he would be aware of the clock and that he would be concise and understand that there are 2 other people that have to give their dumbest thing in sports this week before we even get to phone calls for the Kane Brown tickets. But the way that his face twitched when the Butch audio started playing is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. Like he had a facial tic, like he couldn't control it. As if he smelled something rancid or rotten when Butch Jones's voice went into his ear. It is one of the funniest faces I've ever seen him make.
Just doesn't get it and does not get it.
It kind of feels like a Goodwill Hunting moment for me where it's like, it's not your fault. It's not your fault, Lucas. There's nothing you could have done. It's not your fault. I know, man. I know it's not my fault. My dumbest thing in sports this week is I saw a lot of reports yesterday after the Russell Wilson signing to the Giants of, well, Giants are out of the quarterback market. There's no way the Giants draft a quarterback now. Oh, they got Russell. What are you talking about? On what planet does signing a quarterback to a one-year deal, who every quarterback in that room is on a one-year deal, how does that take you out of the quarterback market? It makes no sense to me. In my opinion, they signed Russell and Jameis as a backup situation. Not a backup to the quarterback, but a backup in the case that they don't get one of the quarterbacks that are at the top of this class. I think you could say the exact same thing about Cleveland getting Kenny Pickett. Did they get Kenny Pickett to start? Not necessarily. They got Kenny Pickett in case they weren't able to get Cam Ward, or if they didn't fall in love with Shador. You have to have a backup plan. The same way that teams will go out and sign veteran minimum players to fill needs, so they don't have to go into the draft with needs. The Giants wouldn't be beholden to a need at quarterback because they have guys who can play. They don't have to start Tommy DeVito. So, no, I do not think the Giants signing Russell Wilson takes them out of trading up for Cam Ward, selecting Shador. I don't think it takes them out of either one of those situations. That's my dumbest thing in sports.
No, and in fact, I think it means the opposite, Bert. To me, it looks like they're throwing every possible option at their quarterback room. Like them in Cleveland both. All right, well, maybe a little Russell Wilson here, maybe a little Jameis Winston there, maybe we opt for a Shador. Okay, we get desperate. We got an itch. We get a Jackson Dart.
DeVito in the shadows.
All of the quarterbacks. Just let's ride, boys. We're going to figure this thing out. It's like Minnesota. Minnesota had like 17 quarterbacks on their roster last year. And
it also helps their negotiating position, where it's like the Titans can no longer say, hey, you don't have anyone. You don't have anyone that you trust over there. You're going to start Jameis for 17 games? Ha, ha, ha. Give us that extra first rounder. And now they can say, yes, we do plan to start Russell Wilson. From a negotiating standpoint, it makes a lot of sense when you're arguing over picks, where someone could say, oh, our leverage is much greater because we actually have a quarterback now. We don't have to give you that first-round pick.
Imagine having the logic of, well, no, the Giants can't draft a quarterback. They have 36-year-old Russell and Jameis Winston.
Buddy, that's half of our audience who is manically trying to talk themselves into, nobody's going to trade up for this quarterback. Nobody.
Oh, but that can still be true.
That happened as soon as I started talking about this. The whole chat's like, oh, Robert seemed trade back. I'm not even saying the Titans trade back. I'm just saying it does not take them out of the quarterback market.
Listen, there is no fan base in America, no matter what sport it is, that handles criticism or critiques well, okay? And that's all right. Like, that's okay. But this fan base is particularly triggered by the idea that nobody in the league seems to really want them to draft this quarterback. Like, they'd rather see Cam Ward go to New York or even go to Cleveland. Like, the Shador Cleveland experience would be a media circus, all right? So NFL media is perpetuating a lot of this, the Titans, but, what if the other teams that we're more interested in or that we care more about would trade up for one of these quarterbacks? Wouldn't that be more fun? And Titans fans are losing their damn minds about it. It's okay. You own that pick. If you trade that pick, it's got to be your decision. And then you can be mad with your team if they do that. Take a breath. Ross, do you have one?
Yes. The college basketball transfer portal opened this week, and Justin Pippen, son of NBA legend Scottie Pippen, has entered. He currently, did play on Michigan, who is in the Sweet 16, and has decided to transfer mid-March Madness run. I think it's ridiculous. I think they got to figure all that transfer portal stuff out. And I don't know about you guys, but if my team's in the Sweet 16 and I got a chance at a ring, I'm not leaving. I might know I'm leaving after the season, but I would like to have a ring on my finger potentially and not avoid that whole thing. But yeah, it's pretty stupid. And also like seeing people leave with the do not contact tag. Like, what does that even mean? You don't want anybody to talk to you while you're in the transfer portal? Makes no sense.
What? Great submission.
It's like that Vandy guard. Did you see him transferred, put it out on Twitter 14 minutes after they got bounced?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Tough scene.
Yeah, it is dumb.
We'll take your phone calls for the opportunity to win those Kane Brown tickets. You got to call us, though, 615-737-1045, and tell us what the dumbest thing in sports this week is. There are so many misconceptions out there about treating ED, and the Tennessee Men's Clinic is here to debunk those for you. Lots of men assume that if the pills stop working, they have no other options than, for example, irreversible surgery to treat ED. And the sad reality is that if you go to a doctor, those may be the only protocols that they have available. Do not go to extremes before you have talked to the experts at the Tennessee Men's Clinic. They specialize in men's sexual health issues. It's all they do, and it makes them the experts in the field. They have access to multiple protocols and options to treat your ED based on your specific needs and what's going on in your body. So don't trust your health to an online pharmacy and don't feel like you're out of options. Call the Tennessee Men's Clinic today. They have treatments for everything from low testosterone, ED, treatments that increase size, stamina, and everything else in between. So schedule an appointment online today at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com for their Franklin or Midtown location, or call them 615-208-9090. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. We're going to Hattie B's Team Lunch today.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm so hungry.
How much is that gift card for? Because
I thought you
card,
said you was getting lunch. Now, don't be using my company issued gift card.
You mean the thing that I recommended that they give you?
Me. Okay, let's do it this way. If the company gave you a gift card and they asked me, where's Buck like to go? I was like, he likes to get Botox. And they gave you a gift card to go get Botox. Do you think that I would be allowed to come along and get a little needle poked in my face?
You could, because I got it for free.
Well, I stand corrected. I guess I'm using my gift card with
That's right. Eat it. 615-737-1045. It's the dumbest thing in sports this week. If you want to jump in, you can do so for the opportunity to win those Kane Brown tickets. Then we'll talk about an ESPN ranking of NFL off seasons that does not view the Titans very favorably. How about Jordan to start?
Hey, guys. My dumbest thing in sports are the Chesapeake Bay Sox. Now, I called in a couple weeks ago about MLB hats with vulgar things like the Texas Rangers. Now the Chesapeake Bay Sox, the AA affiliate of the Baltimore Orioles, have come out with an alternate team identity, the Chesapeake Oyster Catchers, for select games this season. The logo is an oyster shell in the middle of a baseball glove with a baseball top of the shell. Now, the logo looks like female genitalia.
Okay.
The sport of baseball just can't seem to get merch and branding right.
Thank you for keeping it clean there, Jordan.
What did you think he was going to say?
I tensed up a little bit because I've seen what he's talking about.
They did do a right thing on the back end, though, and all of the merch they sell, 10% of it is going to International Women's Month.
That's not true.
Yeah, that is true.
I saw
Is
that.
it really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're like, let our mistake be women's gain or something like. I can't remember.
There's
what the
no way
tweet
that
said.
was a mistake. That had to have been on purpose.
I don't know.
Doubt it.
No way did they put that together.
Major League
Publish it.
Baseball just
No, I know.
produced how many hundreds or thousands of hats with vulgarities on them and didn't realize
all
them
in team
before
stores.
putting them in the official team store. So yes, I believe that this happened and it just somehow made it through all of the all the last lines of defenses.
Okay, but even like down to the specificity of, because it's not just female genitalia that these things look like. This is like anatomically, they're going for something anatomical here, okay? Like this is. I honestly, I think baseball's never been more right with their merch. Those hats, the misprints or the correctly printed hats that just ended up being profanity on them, those are going for like $3,000 now on eBay.
They're just hilarious at this point.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think they've ever been more right with their merch, but I love it as a submission, and I love that they're doing things to donate money to international women's causes. That's great.
Let's go to Thomas next. He's in a milk truck.
All right. Hey, Thomas.
Hey, what's up? So my dumbest thing in sports this week is my son. He's 11, 5th grade AAU. We had a nice little tournament over at HSU this weekend. They charge $30 for adults and $20 for children 6 and above. And you had to pay it each day, Saturday and Sunday. So I'm just like, out of $160 watching an 11-year-old tournament, every went 0-3 on top of that. But the AAU circuit, man, that's the dumbest thing in sports this week.
That's outrageous.
That's
Thank you for the
insane.
call, Thomas. So $160 to watch 11-year-olds play basketball? Is that what?
Your own kid. That's crazy.
Crazy.
That feels sleazy. I hate that.
Well, yeah. What do you think? What do you think youth sports are? Like, especially the ones that are trying to convince their parents, oh, no, your kid's got something. Oh, no, he needs to travel to this tournament. Oh, no, he's got a chance.
That's very real.
You know what I'm saying? Oh, no, come pay $500 to attend our passing academy or whatever and have the opportunity to maybe meet a quarterback, and your kid's going to make it.
It's more expensive it's like 3 times more expensive than a high school football ticket.
Correct.
I mean, it's just insanity. Also, Thomas calling from a milk truck, according to the call screener.
Are we still doing that where we ask people what they do for a living?
Is he delivering
No, he
milk?
just said he was in a milk truck, so I wrote that down.
Okay.
I thought that was cute.
I think that's fair. Leader in the clubhouse, Thomas. Let's go to Ryan next.
Hey, guys. So my dumbest thing in sports, Devin Booker, I don't know if you follow him on Twitter or not, who plays for the Suns. He tweeted, hoops shouldn't be played in a stadium. Well, Bud, tell that to the 60,000 that's going to be in Lucas Oil this weekend. I just think that's a dumb tweet, and that's my dumbest thing in sports. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for the call. He's right, though.
Yeah, I don't disagree with Booker in principle.
He's
there.
so right.
Like, just because you're selling tickets doesn't mean it's a great experience.
Yeah, if I would not attend a basketball game in a football stadium if I was going as a fan.
Unless you're right up there.
Yeah, and how much do those tickets cost?
Oh, yeah. What they're doing at Lucas Oil this weekend is the court is basically in the end zone. It's not like in the middle of where the 50 would be. So I guess if you've got those seats on that side, then it's not so bad. It's just still going to look weird.
The sight lines are awful. It makes the basketball worse because the players aren't used to that. You've got so much more open space behind you. I think it hurts depth perception. I think it hurts shooting. I think it's a terrible idea. Booker's right.
Sorry, Ryan.
Yeah. Tough. How about Mark?
Right. I gambled earlier this week to call a marginally popular radio show and thought I could get through a car wash before the blowers kicked in, and y'all got a huge laugh. And I know that doesn't rank up there with International Women's Talk, but it was pretty dumb.
It's a pretty good one. I'm not going to lie to you, Mark, and I appreciate that you called back.
Marginally popular radio show.
I also appreciate that. We are, in fact, we are nothing if not marginally popular.
The blowers kicked in right as we went to him.
I mean, it couldn't have been worse timing, and I've never been so upset with a caller at the time. Well, that's not true. I'm sure I've bitten somebody's head off before, but it was just I kind of want to give it to Mark. Thomas's is criminal.
I know. Thomas has the best submission.
Thomas's is criminal. I'm going to, Bert, you have to be judge, jury, and executioner here. Who are you going with?
Who do you think wants to go see Kane Brown?
Thomas.
In the milk truck?
I think he wants it more. I think he thought of something more. I love Mark's delivery. Very funny moment to call us in a car wash.
Right, we don't need your point. I'm the judge, jury, executioner.
Okay.
I'm the only reason I'm asking is, and I agree with Thomas. I think we give it to Thomas because he done paid way too much to get into a game. He might as well get to go to a show
free
for
concert
free.
out of it. Mark, though, does get style points for committing to the bit, and I do appreciate that, Mark. Call us anytime except for when you go through a car wash.
I disagree. I think it needs to be a thing now that he only calls us at different stages of the car wash.
Once a week. It's like that guy that called us and then had us in his back pocket listening to some conversation about a trip to Yellowstone for like 20 minutes.
Awesome. And that was one of the best moments of the show. Like, next time you call us, Mark, I want you to be vacuuming your car.
All right. You remember the time that I said, how funny would it be if the Titans drafted Will Levis in the first round, and then you pointed and laughed at me afterwards when they went 3-13 2 years later?
Nobody was laughing, trust me.
You inviting callers to do stuff like that is going to be on your neck, all right? I don't want that. Congratulations to Thomas. He wins the tickets. All right. So, ESPN. Titans fans are going to think that this is dumb. Sometimes you think ESPN is dumb no matter what they do. But I very much respect the opinion of Ben Solak, who recently went to work at ESPN. And I appreciate Ben for a variety of different reasons, but he brings a different kind of insight to how he goes about the analysis of teams. Teams are not done after free agency. We have a whole draft that's vastly more important, I would argue, than free agency as far as roster construction goes, long-term viability of rosters goes, success of teams go. He has put together a ranking of most improved rosters based on these parameters. And I'm going to read directly from the piece on ESPN.com. I didn't want to just rank their incoming free agent classes because that would simply be a ranking of which teams spent the most money. I tried to consider everything, not just free agent acquisitions and departures, but trades, extensions, and restructures. I knocked teams that signed great players but probably overspent or had poor priorities. I rewarded teams that spent little but did so wisely and attacked the right positions. What could have also been considered, the Browns didn't get any points for signing Myles Garrett to the same contract everyone would have when they're the only team that could have gotten picks by giving that contract to someone else. So I like the parameters because normally, the rankings and whatever, power rankings, but this is an interesting exercise. Because I think most Titans fans would look at their free agent acquisition where they, I think with the addition of the kicker, that's 11 unrestricted free agents that they brought in and 4 more if I'm not mistaken, that they retained, right? In guys like Levin or Mike Brown, those kind of players. The Bills, he ranked with the best offseason in the NFL. The top 5 is Bills, Rams, Vikings, Lions, Bucks. And I'm inclined to agree with all of that. You have to scroll down to 27th before you find the Tennessee Titans, and I'll read you directly from the piece. I loved how serious the Titans are about their offensive line. They signed Dan Moore to ensure J.C. Latham gets to play his natural position, while Kevin Zeitler, will serve as a stopgap option at right guard. They added Blake Hance, who has familiarity with line coach Bill Callahan, as a swing guard and tackle, and Corey Levin has continued depth at center. 4 of the 5 projected starters will have been acquired in the past 2 off seasons, which tells me the facelift is complete, and quality offensive line play should be the expectation moving forward, all of which I agree with. What he says after the fact is, I didn't love the impact of the money. Moore is likely to be a fine starter at left tackle, and I can talk myself into Zeitler retaining his level of play despite being 35, but for $84.6 million in guaranteed money spent, 7th most among all teams this offseason, there's a worrying lack of punch in the Titans' additions, which is what we all knew. They redid their offensive line, their skill positions. Pollard is a good player. Ridley is a good player. Ridley got better as the season went on, and he deserves credit for that. The coaching staff deserves credit for that. Beyond those two, and I know that's pre-draft, what is this offense bringing to the table? Because it's not Van Jefferson, who signed basically for vet minimum. I know it's up to a little more than vet minimum, but still. That's like the Jamal Adams contract last year. That the money tells me all I need to know about the expectations for that player. He also cites the additions of Jones and Cody Barton, talking about the off-ball linebacker and the outside linebacker. Replacement level starters at their position. Sebastian Joseph Day adds good depth, but he's not a starter behind Devondre Sweat and Jeff Simmons. If Moore and Zeitler plug up the remaining gaps on the offensive line, perhaps the rising tide of that 5-strong unit will equal the value spent on them, but it feels like a reach. Now, I would argue they have to reach. They have no choice but to reach because they suck. They have sucked on the offensive line for 3 years. They have no choice. And I can also still acknowledge that those contracts may not age great. And Zeitler's 1 year, and that doesn't solve anything. But for 1 year, and you're counting on him being hugely available, which he has been. They've both been.
Yeah, for pretty much their entire careers.
Okay, but he's 35.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that percentage chance goes up marginally, right, with every passing year.
Especially if you're playing offensive line.
Yeah, so I get what he's saying. He loves the intention, right, the intent behind the moves, but like he said, the impact of the money. It's really the only spot where they overpaid because they
didn't spend anywhere.
Didn't really spend elsewhere.
And
exactly.
the Dan Moore contract makes up the bulk of it. So it comes down to, is Dan Moore being average okay? And for the Titans, the answer is unfortunately yes, because they would kill to be average. It's been so long since they've been average. Like I had somebody send me a message yesterday doing the A to Z Sports Instagram Titans Q&As, like, why is everybody so excited about a mid quarterback in a bad class when there's obvious talent everywhere? And one, you have no idea what Cam Ward's going to be as a professional quarterback. Two, he's not mid. He's one of the most successful college quarterbacks we've ever had, certainly in terms of touchdown passes. And three, what the Titans wouldn't give to be average or mid. Like, where is this entitlement coming from? 3-13, or 3-14. Mid is an improvement.
Well, and it also doesn't preclude you from trying to draft your left tackle of the future.
Continuing
in the
to.
Coming drafts, right? I mean, it's a 4-year deal. There is an out with no dead money after the 2026 season, after the first 2 years of the deal. The cap hit goes from $10.8 million in 2025 to $26.3 million in 2026 of Dan Moore Jr., and then you have an out. If you have a young player there on a rookie deal that you feel good about playing opposite of J.C. Latham, at that point, you might be paying J.C. Latham if all goes well. So they've kind of strategized to where they can still find their left tackle of the future and not have to bank on him immediately as a rookie. But I get where Solak is coming from. He also ranks the Patriots offseason as a top 10 offseason in the NFL. And they did spend They spent big.
And that's prior to Stephon Diggs, who we haven't talked
he's
about.
got Stephon Diggs in
does
here.
he?
Yeah, he's got it on the just on that list of key acquisitions and returning players. He says, and I know we're going to get to it here, but he says at receiver they added Diggs, 3-year, $69 million deals, which we know. The Diggs deal isn't a bad one. It includes low guarantees, and he has more juice than Kupp or Amari Cooper at this stage of their careers. But he is neither a wide receiver one, nor does his presence finish solving the depth issue. More work is needed.
The teams that Solak ranked below the Titans in terms of their offseason process were the Houston Texans, the Cleveland Browns, the Niners, the Seahawks as the 31st worst offseason in the NFL, having paid Sam Darnold and making the amount of changes, trading DK Metcalf, all the different things that they did, trading Geno Smith, and then the Atlanta Falcons as the worst offseason in the league, because he wrote, I loved pretty much nothing. There was nothing that he loved about the offseason, and then went into detail about how he did not like basically anything that they did in terms of the acquisitions.
It's kind of tough with Solak, too, because I remember right after the season ended, he put out something about, who are the most impressive rookies? And he claimed Drake May had the most impressive rookie season for all rookie quarterbacks last year, which is just
nonsense.
Could also be the dumbest thing in sports. So I don't know his leanings or who he roots for, but it seems like he has an affinity for the Patriots.
He's
nothing against him.
He's an Eagles fan.
Okay, well,
diehard Eagles fan.
Sure. Well, he has something for the Patriots, too, because, maybe that has something to play into it. But, Jaden Daniels wasn't that impressive if he's an Eagles fan.
Oh, Washington?
Sure. But I always remember that. So time somebody brings it up, I'm like, it just seems like he's a big fan of what the Patriots got going on.
I'm trying to figure out the logic. I'd love to hear the logic. Is it simply based on what he was or what he wasn't surrounded by, that he didn't crater, and that's more impressive to him than Jaden Daniels, who ended up being in a pretty good situation?
I mean, the Patriots arguably had a worse roster than even the Titans, and the Titans were awful.
Sure, and Drake May looked like somebody that you can build around. He showed promise as a rookie quarterback.
So did Will Levis.
Right, in moments, for sure. But, that feels like a bit of an overthink, calling him the most impressive rookie.
Yeah, I would like to know more about the context surrounding that.
He had one that drove his team to a championship
By
game.
degree of difficulty, I would get it, but, turning around the Washington football franchise is...
Yeah.
I mean, they have been horrendous my entire adult life.
Like, if you want to knock Bo Nix for the situation he was in and playing for Sean Payton, saying that wasn't terribly impressive because of all of his surroundings, okay, but Jaden Daniels.
So he ranked the Patriots 9th?
Yes, in this offseason.
Well, why don't we talk about that within the context of Stephon Diggs? Because I do think Mike Vrabel overpaid the hell out of Stephon Diggs yesterday, but there's probably reasons why. We'll get into them coming up next. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Everybody come up with their order yet? Team lunch at Hattie B's today. We're very excited about it.
As many chicken tenders as $50 will buy us.
I'm going to smash some Hattie B's today.
I feel like if we buy them in bulk, we get a better deal, right?
The chicken tenders?
Anything in general, but yeah, chicken tenders.
Big old quart of that mac and cheese.
We don't get no sides, only chicken.
No. The sides at Hattie B's
The sides are excellent.
You don't need no sides. We just need chicken.
One of the driving forces of why Hattie B's, to me, is the best hot chicken establishment in the world. The collard greens alone.
I haven't decided whether I'm going to go for tenders. I'm kind of in a whole wings mood, though. I love their whole wings. They're really good.
So we're undecided.
Yes.
Yeah, that's basically what we got to. Like the entire show. We just kind of decide what we're going to talk about for 3 hours a day when we walk in here or when I get here at like 9:45. Anyway, something that you don't have to think too much about is whether or not the Patriots overpaid Stephon Diggs, because the answer is definitively yes. The contract is ridiculous. 3 years for Stephon Diggs at his age. And I understand that the contract will likely be maneuvered to have an out that is effective for the New England Patriots to be able to get out from under it if it does not age well. But I think there's a lot of people who are overthinking the overpay. The Patriots are also having to pay this year the we suck luxury tax because they were also, if Joe Milton hadn't gone out there and won a game and now upped his trade value and the Patriots are trying to move him for a third-round pick or whatever it was that we saw reported, the Patriots would have had the #1 overall pick and would have been the worst team in football.
So Stephon Diggs is their Ridley?
Stephon Diggs is their Ridley. But Stephon Diggs is not as good, most recently, as Calvin Ridley still is, even though they are of similar age. 3 years, $69 million. Now, it's up to $69 million. But the guaranteed money on it in the mid to high 20s is crazy. And they still have to pay it because, one, he's the best available wide receiver that's out there in free agency. Two, Stephon Diggs does not have Stephon Diggs brings more to the table than arguably anybody else on their wide receiver roster right now.
They don't have, it is bare, man. You're talking about Kayshon Boutte, Kendrick Bourne, still there, I believe. The cupboard is bare at receiver for the Patriots.
So people are pulling their hair out and being like, what are the Patriots doing and all these different things. And they've spent, obviously, a tremendous amount of money because they had the most money to spend this offseason. But if he is the closest thing that you can find this offseason to a professional wide receiver for Drake May, because they tried to pay Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin, according to multiple reports, took less money to go back to Tampa because, quote, moving sucks, which I get. Also, I would rather live in Tampa than live in Boston or Foxborough or anywhere near the New England area, respectfully.
Stephon Diggs, the best available receiver on talent alone.
It's Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, and Stephon Diggs, and they're all in varying degrees of this same conversation. The only difference was Stephon Diggs. He's coming off a torn ACL.
Exactly. He was on pace for what would have been a 1,000-yard season in Houston. 8 games, 496 yards, 3 touchdowns, and that's obviously a Houston receiver core that has plenty of weapons. I know Nico Collins dealt with an injury early in the year. Tank Dell's injury came way later after Stephon Diggs got hurt, but that's the big thing, is coming off the ACL, a midseason ACL. Colton Dow tore his ACL in December. It was late, maybe second to last regular season game.
Yeah.
And didn't play for the entirety of the 2024 season.
He ended up being designated, I think, in the final month of the season.
But at that point,
return, but never got on the field.
Yeah, so different situations and very different players. But I'll be curious as to when Stephon Diggs can help this team, how soon he can, and they need him immediately.
And that's kind of why I question Solak's reporting that he has more juice than Kupp does. What are y'all's expectations for Diggs on this Patriots team that doesn't really have a reliable #1 target? It's got NWI, who I'm sure Buck would say could slide in as a #1.
No, he's a Dolphin.
But, guy, you're right. I thought he went to variable. He went to
same
the
division.
So what are y'all's expectations for him? Yards-wise, touchdown-wise, touch-wise?
What was he doing? What was his target share when he got hurt?
He was having a fairly nice year with the Texans. I believe he was the #1 targeted wide receiver. I can double-check that.
64 targets through 8 games.
That's not inconsequential.
And Nico Collins was injured for a lot of that early part of the season.
I mean, my expectation is that he's going to run that they're going to run the hell out of the ball, and that Drake May is going to need somebody with a reliable set of hands occasionally. But for the most part, Mike Vrabel is going to look at him and say, "We're going to pay you a lot of money, but you're going to run block." All right, like that's what this is. Their offensive line is still bad. They're not going to be dropping back 25 to 30 times a game. Their offensive line is still bad.
I'll be surprised if Stephon Diggs is a 1,000-yard receiver. Vrabel did not have a 1,000-yard receiver.
AJ.
Not named A.J. Brown, right? Corey got close.
Hopkins.
Oh, D-Hop, of course. Yes.
So Corey Davis never got to 1,000 yards. AJ was the only 1,000-yard receiver Vrabel ever had. And that's
Hopkins.
There's a couple of and DeAndre Hopkins in that last year. But there's a couple of different reasons for that, because they had Derrick Henry. Like, this was not an aired out offense because they were playing to the strengths of their football team, and the strengths of their football team was the 250-pound cyborg in the backfield that's still playing at a high level.
So Ramondre Stevenson
is also a very effective player, but again, his offensive line in front of him is bad.
And is Antonio Gibson back for them next year?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
Just trying to think of their running back room. He is still under contract.
So I think it's a lot to do. It's a famous name that got a lot of money from a team that can afford to pay him that money, and they're looking at it for a couple of different reasons. That doesn't mean that it won't be a bad contract. Like, it's probably going to be a bad contract. That's not going to age well. Stephon Diggs is not. Wide receivers don't typically age well, and it doesn't mean that it's not something that they still didn't need.
What's more head scratching, giving Stephon Diggs that guaranteed money or giving Harold what they give Harold Landry? I'd go.
I think Diggs.
Really? I was going to say.
He's coming off an ACL.
Yeah, and the Harold thing, there is a level to it that makes sense in terms of bringing in a player that knows what it's like to play for Mike Vrabel.
A calm, level-headed player that knows what it's like to deal with an explosive, volatile coach. And, Mike's not like an off-the-wall individual, but he can be.
Yeah, but like culture setters, that sounds like such a cliche. Nothing sounds more cliche than talking about culture and how nebulous that is, but it's real.
That matters. I just covered a football team for 18 weeks last year that had no identity.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
The semblance of the locker room culture, we spent 17 weeks trying to figure out, do you guys have any?
Yeah, there is something to that in terms of what Harold brings to the table.
615-737-1045 is the number. If you want to jump in, we'd be happy to have you. Ron Slay is going to join us. We'll talk some hoops coming up next.
It is 12 o'clock. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. Another free agent QB came off the board on Tuesday as the New York Giants have signed Russell Wilson on a one-year deal worth up to $21 million, including $10.5 million guaranteed. Russell on his third team in as many years, joining a quarterback room that includes Jameis Winston and Tommy DeVito. And the New England Patriots signed wide receiver Stephon Diggs on a 3-year deal worth $69 million. That included $26 million in guaranteed money. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour, and we'll get to some hoops here in just a second. Vols have a big matchup coming up in the Sweet 16 against the hated Kentucky Wildcats. Ron Slay will be upon us in just mere moments from now, or at least that's the plan. We'll talk some March Madness with him. 615-737-1045, the number. In the meantime, if you want to get involved, F&M Bank Chat, also available on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. If you want to engage there, we'll swing back around to the quarterback domino that fell, that has implications on at least 2 franchises, and arguably 3 if you want to include the Titans in that mix, too. But Lucas was very confident. Lucas is very confident. I shouldn't say was, but is very confident about the idea of beating Kentucky for the first time this season after having been swept in the regular season by a Wildcats team that shouldn't have been able to do that to this particular Tennessee team, given the strengths that both teams have that just evaporated for Tennessee in both of those matchups.
They were both weird games, weren't they? Because it wasn't Tennessee in some of their losses this year. You think back to that blowout at Florida. I mean, just a lid on the bucket from tip-off. It was one of those days. Some games where they've been out-rebounded, where maybe they just came out without a lot of energy. That Kentucky game, though, it didn't feel like Tennessee played poorly in either of those games, right? I mean, they kind of went toe-to-toe. It just came down to the three-point shooting. Very odd games on both occasions, where Kentucky was banged up on both, too. Andrew Carr didn't play in the first one. Lamont Butler didn't play in the first one. Jackson Robinson didn't play in the second one. Lamont Butler went out with like 6 minutes to go in that one with that shoulder that's been bothering him all year. Butler playing in this one. Robinson is not. Butler's got the brace on his shoulder, but he's been playing through it. Mark Pope called him the one-armed bandit. That's what he has dubbed Lamont Butler, his star point guard.
I really need Mark Pope to stop making me like him.
He's a likable guy.
As an Indiana basketball fan living in the state of Tennessee, I have multiple reasons to hate the Kentucky basketball program, and I do hate the Kentucky basketball program because they're, historically better than me.
Speaking of Indiana, real quick, how about the fact that Houston, as a 1 seed, has to go from Houston, Texas to Indianapolis to play Purdue?
Yeah, that's tough.
At Lucas Oil Stadium.
That's tough. Houston should win that game, though.
They should.
Purdue has handled themselves well, and Matt Painter's a good coach. Again, coaches who I respect and rather enjoy, even though they play for programs or coach for programs that I hate. So we will see what goes down in the Sweet 16. Sweet 16, I mean, it's just been, I know we've had the women's tournament going on, and we're all very invested in what the Lady Vols have been able to do. It's been a hugely impressive season under Kim Caldwell for the first year. How she's been able to turn that program around and to have both programs in the Sweet 16 is exciting stuff. But it's just the withdrawals that I go through from the men's tournament after the first weekend into these couple of days where we don't have March Madness games, it's just been debilitating.
Debilitating.
It's been debilitating.
Yeah, I think we're going to get some really fun games. I think BYU-Bama could sneakily be the most enjoyable game of the Sweet 16 on the men's side from a pure entertainment standpoint. I mean, the over-under in that game, what do you think the over-under in that game is? For Maryland, Florida, we'll say it's 157.5. Tennessee, Kentucky, 144.5. What do you think the over-under is for Bama, BYU?
160?
175.5. Going to be a lot of points in this one.
What?
A lot of points.
I mean, Alabama's a weird team this year. Like, they're clearly a hugely effective team. But I don't know. The losses that they had during the regular season were kind of confounding to me.
Some of their defensive performances this year have been honestly shocking. But they've got the number one scoring offense. They're putting up over 90 a game this year, and BYU has been red hot too.
So, by the way, the top 8 teams in KenPom are all still playing at this point in the tournament, from Duke down to Texas Tech, 1 through 8. At this point in time, Duke, Houston, Florida, Auburn, Tennessee, Bama, Michigan State, and Texas Tech round out the top 8 of KenPom. Obviously, all of those teams still participating in the Sweet 16. Who do we think is the most fraudulent left in the field?
Oh, that sounds like a question for college basketball expert and analyst Ron Slay.
What is that, like the bat signal? Is there somebody?
Oh,
that's me.
I heard
me twice.
Heard that rumbling laugh though.
No, that was me. That was my voice on an echo.
No, I think I heard it.
Is he wandering around back there?
Is he under the console?
I don't know. They'll let us know when he might be available. Ron Slay.
I don't see him under there.
What up, Doug? What up, Doug?
You sound like a monster. Like when you laugh like that, especially on an echoey Zoom call.
V5.
It's like Ron Slay the Giant joins us now on 104.5 The Zone. What's happening, buddy?
What up, dude? I'm just trying to figure out who's eating my porridge then, if I'm going to be a monster. Well, and I know who it is. Pan, leave my porridge alone.
That was me.
No, now they have alibis, Slay, because there's 2 of them that work on this show. There's Bert, who eats expired food out of the break room refrigerator, and there is Lucas, who will just eat anything at this point. He's the closest thing to a raccoon I've seen in real life.
Yeah, with the raccoon eyes to boot.
Yeah, that's a tough look for you. I keep telling him to do these face masks I do, Slay, and he won't listen to me. I can't help him.
That's my dog, man.
Yeah,
that's my dog. Back a butt pan.
Backer butt pan.
Coach Mack was breaking down my athletic build. I tuned into 3HL to hear Coach Mack evaluating me as a prospect, and it did answer a lot of questions as to why in the world my freshman football coach put me at linebacker when I wanted to play defensive back. I thought it was because I stumbled and face planted during one backpedaling drill, but clearly it wasn't that.
No, dog, I'm telling you, any high school, especially in our era, dog, that was what it was. Like you fit the mold, Pan, and that's great, dog. That's the description you want. I would always love to be compared to a linebacker. They were telling me I was walking around with pencils on.
It's just stretched out so much further over such a wider area or taller area, I guess, not wide at this point.
So ask
what up, Buckaroo?
Who's the most fraudulent team left in the field?
Oh,
it's a good question because we've been so chalky, and the 10 seed is Cal.
And Cal is getting healthy, so it couldn't be them. I'm not going to point to them. Golly, that is a tough one, man. I would say, let's see. I can't say somebody to mess up my Final Four. Let's not do that, because we all got to be right. Let me look at it, man. I would say BYU. I'm gonna go with them as much as they like to score. I think when it settles down, when it comes down to it, can they get stops? I don't believe they can. I believe Alabama can. They've been preaching it all year, and they have the guys that can do it. I'm not sure BYU has the athletes to be able to go out there and get stops. Absolutely, they can get out there and score with their sets and everything. But when you just need to knuckle up and go get a stop, I ain't sure BYU can do it. I do believe in Alabama when Phylon is on the floor. He can get it done as far as getting a stop. Chris Youngblood is another one. Jaron Stevenson, Diabate is another one. And then you got a guy like Murray who's going to be cleaning up. And that's not even mentioning a guy like Grant Nelson. So they got a plethora of guys that can knuckle up and get a stop. Plus, they've been there before. BYU ain't never been there.
How often have you seen a college basketball game that has a point total over-under of 175?
Dude, that's nuts. You would think Loyola Marymount or UNLV running Rebels, Michigan, the Fab Five, somebody like that was out here playing like that. And they got to be playing against themselves. You know what I mean? Like, to just say we're going to go out there and score with the magnitude of this game in this environment, that's going to be the over-under. You would automatically think like 140, 145, 150, maybe, and I think 160 is pushing it. But man, that's nuts.
No, I thought I was crazy saying 160, and then he said 175.
Well, Buck, that ain't far.
Ron Slay, 3HL SEC Network's on TV's Ron Slay, and is it off time the friendly giant Ron Slay with the laugh. Here with us on 104.5 The Zone.
Slay, obviously 7 SEC teams still left in the field, and you got Kentucky, Tennessee facing off. For you, though, what's the Kentucky, Tennessee aside, what is the best matchup for any one SEC team in the Sweet 16, and what do you think is the worst matchup?
I would say the worst matchup is Arizona-Duke. I don't think they have the length to go out there and battle with Duke. I think Duke runs through them. It's a double-digit victory for them. Outside of them, I would say probably the best matchup that I want to see. I want to see how Ole Miss matches up with Michigan State. Actually, I understand what Houston and Purdue is, Michigan, Auburn, all of these matchups that we got, but Ole Miss and Michigan State. Like, nobody's calling you frauds anymore. Everybody believes in you. You're supposed to be there. So what is Chris Beard going to latch on to as far as motivation for these guys? And then Tom Izzo is Tom Izzo. Like, he's not worried about nothing but the game at hand. He's been there plenty of times. And at his veteran stage, he's a guy that, knows to throw the wrinkles out. So it's going to be interesting to see how he gets these guys to play. But Ole Miss is my bunch, man, because they've been playing with some aggressiveness that I didn't think they had. Collectively, I thought individually they could always get it done, but collectively, the way they've been playing and being able to go play defense and rebound, which rebounding is their Achilles heel, is interesting.
I'm so glad you brought them up, Slay, because that's probably one of the most shocking results of the tournament so far. They punked Iowa State, and
yes.
It was not that competitive. The final score, 91-78, makes it look closer than I felt it actually was. That is not something that you're watching this much closer throughout the course of the regular season than I am specific to Ole Miss or around the SEC. I'm paying attention to Tennessee's opponents and, the odd Kentucky game and things like that.
Right.
How much further, though, can that take them?
Well, this is what I'm going to say, Buck. Guards win tournaments. And Sean Padula is playing at a high level, an elite level, whether it be shot making, creating for others, even the 50-50 plays, like loose balls or being able to get hands on balls. Like he's doing a lot, man, that I thought he would be able to come into Ole Miss and do, but they had a 2-point guard system with him and Juju Murray, and it was seeming like neither one of them wanted to relinquish the power. And at the right time, it was like Juju was like, all right, Sean, this is you got the helm. Take off with it and see what you're gonna do. And he's been successful with it. So if he's playing that way, I think everybody else can fall in line because they got weapons at each spot, So it's gonna be interesting if they run up against some length. That's when I think, we'll have to keep an eye on them because Malik Deal's the only one down low with any kind of size that they're going to play. They got a guy, John Bowl, on the bench, but he's not really getting any playing time. But it's interesting once that 5-out doesn't work and guys are controlling the paint the way they're supposed to against them. What do they do? So until the matchup presents itself, they can go as long as they want to go.
Slay, third meeting, obviously, this year between Tennessee and Kentucky, first ever NCAA tournament meeting. We were talking the other day. It has to be, just by nature of it being in the Big Dance, the biggest Tennessee-Kentucky game, the most consequential one in the series of the history of the rivalry. Can you kind of take us inside the Tennessee locker room a little bit? What are discussions like in a lead up to a game like this? Yes, there's an Elite Eight spot on the line for just the third time in program history, trying to stay alive, all those things. But just adding the Kentucky layer on top of it, the preparation, the discussion for an experienced team going into this game is what right now for Tennessee?
I think when you walk into it, you're looking at a team that's out here by force or by choice. That's their motto. It would be my motto while watching this bunch. By force or by choice, meaning we're gonna take this game by force or by choice. You can give it to us or we're gonna forcefully take it. You saw that from the beginning of the SEC tournament, the aggression that these guys were playing with. And then it's weird because a lot of people are saying they don't make a lot of what Lamont Butler said at his post game, saying that we're going to go out. We love each other. We're going to go out and win this game. Well, let me tell you something, man. I've been around Kentucky and Mark Pope, and the way he programs these guys, humble is an understatement. Being able to talk to guys when they're dominant through matches, they always kind of shun away and make it about the team, give props to the other one. This wasn't the case. So with it being a rivalry like it is, you hang that in the locker room, and I'm pretty sure that guys have caught wind of this, and that'll be at the forefront. So you going to win this game with all the stakes right here in Indianapolis, in y'all backyard? Let's get it on.
Lucas keeps trying to tell me that Cal in Arkansas can't be a Cinderella, and it's the closest thing that we have, and I think it's the best story.
The seeding says they are.
The tournament. That's what I'm saying. See, Slay says I'm right.
I said they are the closest thing to a Cinderella, but that's not much of a Cinderella to me. Slay, this team is loaded with talent.
Let me ask you this, though. If you think back to January or February, would you say this team right here is going to make an Elite Eight run or a Final Four run?
Definitely not.
Exactly. So that would be the only all of that garners Cinderella and Sweet 16. You got to take what you see. If you took Arkansas off the chest, you know what I'm saying, and put Belmont on their chest, and they were right here with the same talent, you still say this is a Cinderella team. So all it is the tradition that they have. You got Cal at the helm, and you know the kind of talent that he recruits. That's what makes people say, nah, they're supposed to do it, but they're really not. The same level of respect and props that we give him Mark Pope, man, I know it's hard to do, but, man, you got to give it to Cal, too, because, they had one guy on the roster. What you supposed to do?
And
with injuries.
And it's who they beat to get there, Slay. Like, you know, I've been on this, for some reason, I'm really enjoying John Calipari at this stage of my life. Maybe it's because he no longer coaches.
Get him his slippers, I guess.
That's what I'm saying. He is Cinderella, baby. We're going all the way with it. He beat Bill Self and Rick Pitino, two guys who have national championships. Yes. And I know Kansas is down, and I know St. John's can't shoot, and God knows they couldn't shoot in that particular game that saw Calipari advance to the Sweet 16, which is a huge part of it. And I know Pitino made some interesting coaching decisions in that one as well. But if you're Cal today, you are the most vindicated coach in America.
Absolutely. You make Tyson chicken look phenomenal. Maybe we go get some for Pan and Bert and let it warm it up in the kitchen and expire it and then eat it. So everybody can feel good. But this is what you got to understand too, Buck. Man, with what you said with Cal and them and who they played as far as St. John's not being able to shoot, Kentucky can't guard.
Yeah.
Maryland can't go past 5. Like, we can go down a list of things why people ain't supposed to be there. It's what you're going to do in that moment. And from that trip to Rupp, since then, saying to his guys, play fearless, as corny as it sounds, that's what they latched on to. And they've been led by some guys that's some veterans. Jonas Adu has been, man, I was his biggest critic. And also, I got to give him props. When he turned it around, this team turned around. DJ Wagner couldn't shoot. When them guys kept going under the screens, he got his butt in the gym and started knocking down threes. Now they got to go over the screen, which opens up a whole different game plan. Nelly Davis isn't camped out in the corner. He's playing like $1 million guy that's been in the Final Four before. So, it's just, you got to get the props where props are due, man. They beat Rick Pitino, who was one of the hottest teams coming into it. You beat Kansas, like you said, with one of the highest NIL budgets for back-to-back years. Again, with Hunter Dickinson robbing Kansas with no mask. So, give them their props.
We call those the ski mask all-stars. That is exactly. I just love that we can talk about it now in college as opposed to the pros. People stealing money from their organizations when they are highly touted, highly recruited, and then highly compensated as a result. Ron Slay, always highly touted, always highly compensated, here with us on 104.5 The Zone.
We've got some breaking news, some breaking media news here, Slay. I want to get your reaction to this. CBS Sports, Gary Danielson retiring following the 2025 football season, according to On3 Sports, and Charles Davis will succeed him as CBS Sports' new go-to college football analyst.
Wow. Charles Davis, that's what's up. Paid his dues. Man, worked the right rooms, went out there and delivered. Hey, salute to Charles Davis, VFL, baby. You know I'm all for it.
You'll be doing Iowa Rutgers games on CBS.
I was about to say, that's not
next to Brad Nessler.
I'm happy for Charles. I hope he got paid. I hope he got the bag. But he's going to be doing Big Ten football, Slay.
Hold on, we got breaking news now. Hold on, wait, what's this coming across my ticket? Wait. Dick Vitale will retire at the end of the year. Ron Slate to replace Dickie V. All right, let's go, baby. Charles Davis takes over. Ron Slate takes over. Let's go, baby. I dreamed it.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that that the sourcing on your news wasn't Robert and his Google AI back there.
It's the Donkeys, baby.
Guess what, though? Guess what? I will say next week, baby. Big Slade, we'll be on the big screen, Final Four bound, baby. So climbing up slowly.
We're excited about it. Who could have guessed that Ron Slade
an unstoppable force
continued to climb the illustrious media ladder here, where he's stepping over people like me and Lucas, not just because he's tall and he can, but because he's exceptionally talented. Slade, thank you for the time. As always, enjoy the game this weekend. I know that you've basically got an entire traveling contingent with you that went to Lexington, now on the way up to Indianapolis. I'm sure the cigar bars are excited to see you coming to town.
Yes, we will have a ball, and they will be smoke-filled rooms for everybody. We're bringing bourbon from Lexington, Kentucky. Thank you, Kentucky, for the bourbon. Thank you for letting us Airbnb your beautiful arena last week. It did us justice. So on to spank you up in Naptown.
Kentucky. It's one of my favorite. Oh, what? Is that a wildcat?
I love that drop.
Wildcat running around out there. All right. Ron Slay, kind enough to make some time. Thank you, big dog. So that is fascinating news. Why don't we talk about that coming up next? Will I have enough money when I retire? When should I draw from Social Security? If these questions are keeping you up at night, let me introduce you to the team that's there to keep you on the right track and guide you through it. That's Trajan Wealth, Trajan Wealth, not just any financial firm. They're your partners in securing your financial future, and we all know how important that is. They are more than just a fiduciary firm at Trajan Wealth. They're a family-owned, veteran-led team that puts your needs first. Let their decades of experience specializing in retirement planning and wealth management work for you. Trajan Wealth offers free consultations to help you develop your plan and your peace of mind. So call them today at 615-270-5000. That's 615-270-5000, or visit them online at TrajanWealth.com. Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. This is a paid advertisement. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. So we've got a Paramount press release. Of course, Paramount, the parent company of CBS, and then by extension, CBS Sports. Gary Danielson announces retirement as CBS Sports lead college football analyst following the 2025 season. Charles Davis to succeed Danielson beginning in 2026. So Gary will play out this season. Charles will take over in 26. I would not wish Big Ten football on Charles, but they will continue to do a great job. That is a huge change. Gary Danielson, we were just talking about this during the commercial break. Tennessee fans have hated him for a long time.
Seems like many SEC fan bases. Not big fans of Gary Danielson.
I have never in my life understood that. And I understand that I watch games differently than a lot of people do. And that I don't get quite caught up in like I have officials that I think used to call things against Indiana basketball that I hated, Big Ten basketball officials, but I never had that issue with broadcasters.
I never had a huge issue with Gary. I always thought that was very overblown. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Also,
respectfully, because he's had an incredible career, Charles Davis is an upgrade.
Oh, Charles is going to crush that role.
Yes.
Assuming it's next to Brad Nessler still after 2025. So Gary will be there on that CBS Big Ten Game of the Week.
What are you now plotting Brad Nessler's downfall so you can weasel in the booth with Charles Davis? Look at him, Bert. He couldn't wait for the ink to dry on Mike Keith's deal with the Vols. Now he's got to scurry on over to CBS and try and oust Brad Nessler.
I should be so lucky to even share a room with Charles Davis. Jim Nantz, according to Front Office Sports, says he will retire from calling the Masters in 2036.
Oh, Jesus.
This is a headline. It'll be his 51st time calling the tournament, and it will be the 100th anniversary of the Masters. The quote from Jim Nantz, it would be a perfect place to walk out.
How old is he going to be? How old is he now? Respectfully, because I know he lives in the Nashville area and apparently listens to 3HL, which is still crazy to me.
Jim is 65 now. He doesn't look a day over
He's aged
50.
very well.
And yeah, so in 11 years, he will be 76, calling his final Masters. That's young. Spring chicken.
For play-by-play guys, it seems to be.
But I just love that that's coming out. That scared me at first. I saw the words Jim Nantz and retire.
Wait, is that like a press release? Who put that out?
Front Office Sports just put that out with the quote from Jim Nantz. And not only is
All right, so I want the context because I don't think Jim Nantz just put it out there. Hey, when we get to the 100th Masters, I'm going to hang it up. Like somebody probably asked him the question.
I don't know in what setting they would have asked him that question, but Front Office Sports, very reputable sports business outlet that is putting that out there. I just love that. Not only, he's not saying he will retire in 2036. He will retire from the Masters.
Yeah, that's right. So pry this microphone out of my cold, dead hands.
Hey, let him do it. Let him do it forever.
He's excellent. Jim Nantz is I don't know who my favorite. Well, my favorite play-by-play person is Kevin Harlan. Like he's over the top. Jim Nantz is just a classic. So I hope that Jim Nantz never does not leave us prematurely.
Already stepped away from the NCAA tournament.
Right.
And then for the Masters, it'll be another 11 years of his dulcet tones.
Which, by the way, Ian Eagle's been great.
Ian Eagle's a fantastic broadcaster.
So from broadcasting news now to football news, Russell Wilson is going to be a Giants quarterback. I don't know if he's going to be the Giants quarterback, but he is a Giants quarterback. And he joins now a room with Tommy DeVito and Jameis Winston. That means that New York is not, at least, the only thing that it definitively means is that New York is out on Aaron Rodgers. It does not mean definitively that the Giants still won't draft a quarterback because Jameis is not making enough money that it wouldn't be infeasible. I don't know if that's the correct grammar.
Infeasible.
Is that incorrect? Unfeasible? Infeasible?
Just say not feasible.
Not feasible?
It's definitely not infeasible.
Not feasible. All right, very good. Well, I only speak for a living.
I know it is.
Eat it.
It is infeasible.
Eat it. Both of you looked at me like I was an idiot.
I didn't say anything.
You smiled.
I didn't say anything.
Smiled
you still didn't
like,
know.
Look at him. He's somebody finally got him.
What an upset.
No, but
somebody
while we're talking
finally
crap,
got him with a word that's bigger than
the biggest
anything
upset of March Madness.
We'll start coming up with titles for primetime and stuff, and Buck always tries to give the longest, most convoluted. Who is the most likely, least likeliest person to accept and non-accept and disassociate associate and just say.
You came up with one title for the radio show for the first time in 3 years.
That's
all right?
not. Well, I've been working here for a month, so.
Oh, here for a month?
On the show.
This is your second stint. You're a retread.
I got fired the first time.
So, Russell Wilson means the Giants are out on Aaron Rodgers. That means that the Steelers are really, unless Minnesota looks at J.J. McCarthy after voluntary stuff, after OTAs, is like, all right, just kidding, we'll take you. Pittsburgh's really the only viable place that he can go. What if Aaron Rodgers decides, no, I'm good. Like, does the most Aaron Rodgers thing in the world, which is like, I think I'm going to retire.
Retires. Oh,
He takes a 6-hour meeting with Mike Tomlin, Art Smith, and whoever else he was visiting with in Pittsburgh on Saturday and just says, I'm good. I'll go back to Australia. I'll hang a blanket around my neck. I'll put my wired earphones in, and I'll stroll the beach.
You're out of options. I mean, that's
you're
it.
not. You'd have to get in the quarterback market.
You
in this draft.
You draft Jackson Dart at 21. I mean,
could happen.
Man,
they could do that whether or not they sign Aaron Rodgers.
For sure.
Because Mason Rudolph didn't get a ton of money from them, right? A similar deal to Jameis. I don't have the contract figures in front of me.
Similar to Jameis. Yeah, I mean, or Mason Rudolph's your starter in 2025.
What if Mason Rudolph ends up being their starter and they look like a competent football team? After what we watched here last year, respectfully to Mason Rudolph, because I think very little of it was his fault. But it's just be unbelievable. It's a fascinating conversation because that's what definitively drives the number of first-round quarterbacks taken, to me, up to 3, is because there are too many teams, not in a situation like Pittsburgh, but still don't have long-term solutions at the quarterback that Dart wouldn't be worth. It's not a flyer in the first round. It's a calculated risk. And drafting a first-round developmental quarterback like Jackson Dart would be a calculated risk. You would probably take your lumps. It may end up with Mike Tomlin's first losing season. Mike Tomlin may not survive it, given how much Steelers fans go back and forth on whether they want him fired or not. And I know that's not their decision to make, but still. The Rams, the Raiders, the Steelers, teams who are in precarious quarterback situations or operating on one-year deals, why wouldn't any of them take a flyer or a calculated risk on Jackson Dart in the first round this year? That's the only option that makes sense to me for Pittsburgh.
It feels like it's headed there. Rodgers in Pittsburgh. He's a wild card. That'll be very surprising if Aaron Rodgers is not a Pittsburgh Steeler in 2025.
And it would also make sense because of the report that came out of the Pittsburgh Gazette today that Russell Wilson would have liked to be retained by Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So if they wanted him, they could have had Russell. It seems to me like their plan has been Aaron Rodgers all along. Like they had other pivots. Obviously, they're going to bring in Mason Rudolph as a position in case Rodgers chose the Giants, chose someone else, similar to the backup situation we talked about with Jameis or Kenny Pickett in Cleveland. But yeah, it seemed like if they wanted Russell Wilson, they could have had him back.
Oh, no, for sure. I don't think they had any. After the end of the season, 5 straight losses, and I know it's not entirely on Russ, but he wasn't helping them the way that you need a player in that position to be able to bail you out of certain situations instead of contributing to the problem. There's no question that Russell Wilson contributed to the problem, even though, I get why they made the switch. I know they got killed for it because Fields, what was Fields, like 4-2 or something like that?
He was doing really well.
He was 4-2 as the starter.
4-2 as a starter. So, there was, Tomlin got some heat. Mike Tomlin deserves any criticism from anybody at any point about how to do that job. But I got it because, Russell Wilson has been in more high-stakes games than Justin Fields could ever dream of playing in, would be lucky to participate in. Russell Wilson has played in 2 Super Bowls. He has been on many playoff runs. He has helped guide teams through seasons. And sometimes he's been a part of the problem and, Mr. Unlimited and all the other weird stuff that he does.
Yeah, but then the high-stakes games came and Russell was
he can't
terrible.
do it anymore. He can't do it anymore. The time on Russell Wilson being that kind of a player where they still cite, what is he, a 10-time Pro Bowler? That's not Russell Wilson anymore. That's not who he is at this stage of his career.
No, I'm with Robert, though. That feels like a telltale sign.
Yeah.
The Steelers have to be really confident that Unless Aaron.
Well, sure, but they're dealing with the most.
For sure. Unless he just pulls the rug out.
Unpredictable.
Wakes up in the middle of the night with an epiphany or something, decides he wants to retire. But yeah, it feels like it's headed that way.
Have you guys heard the rumors? The secret rumors? That Aaron Rodgers is going to announce he is going to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers at Pat McAfee's sold-out show in Pittsburgh, April 9th.
Oh, he so would do that.
Doesn't that see?
What?
Sorry, I misclicked. I missed the button. It didn't click when I told it to. Doesn't that?
You cut off yourself with it.
Doesn't it seem
Nobody's
like
ever accused us of being a well-produced radio show.
people have accused us of that? Don't say that.
That wasn't a great showing for the well-produced radio show.
No, that was perfect, is what it was.
Thanks, Lucas.
Oh, now he's hurt. Look at him. What do you? So wait, Mac.
All right, no, let me do what a poor. What were you saying?
What a poor would do? Is that what you said?
What a poor producer would do.
Okay.
Sorry, I misclicked.
You're an idiot.
Bad producer.
I think. So wait, McAfee, is it a Pat McAfee show that they sold out?
Oh my God. You want me to have details, dude? It's a rumor.
I'm asking you if I thought what he sold out was PPG Paints Arena for a WWE event.
Perhaps.
Okay, so you're telling me there's no Pat McAfee show that's scheduled to be a sellout in Pittsburgh right now?
I read a tweet.
I am seeing on PPG Paints Arena's website.
Okay.
Big night out. But they
say it how he says it.
Big night at. You know how they do the
most annoying way.
Yeah, like the AHT.
Yinzers.
With Pat McAfee and friends. So Pat McAfee's show.
So it's a Pat McAfee show.
Yeah, like a live podcast at PPG Paints Arena. Or live televised show at PPG Paints Arena.
That's crazy.
Tickets are on sale.
How much? Is it cheaper to go to that Pat McAfee show than it is the AAU game?
Yeah, for sure,
no way. No way.
It's an arena.
It's sold out. So I can't even tell you how much.
Oh, yeah. Did I just say
it was sold out?
God, we're so bad.
But does that not make so much sense? So this is happening Wednesday, April 9th, which is before the draft. It's 2 weeks from today.
There's no way that McAfee didn't start this rumor himself. It's not like Pat needs help selling tickets. But
Aaron Rodgers, the guy who basically announced Devontae Adams to the Jets by having him creep up behind him in the camera shot while on the Pat McAfee show. Remember that? Like Devontae just kind of popped up, and then the Pat McAfee crew went crazy, and that's how we knew for sure that Devontae
if you wanted to sell me on a tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, this would be the one that you might be able to sell me on.
This is happening. This is definitely happening.
All right.
Rodgers is going to be a Steeler.
Last call for phone calls. 615-737-1045 is the number. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. Last call for phone calls, if you got them. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to chime in there. F&M Bank chat also at your disposal. So we got more breaking media news that Robert very quickly dismissed because he hates J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt is replacing Charles Davis on the CBS #2 NFL broadcast team. So it's Ian Eagle and J.J. Watt instead of Ian Eagle and Charles Davis. Charles Davis now going to be the #1 analyst on the CBS college football package, which obviously is the Big Ten college football package now, to replace Gary Danielson, who will retire at the end of the 2025 season. Robert hates J.J. Watt, which I think is funny.
Now, do you hate him because of what he was as a player or just his media?
Yeah, he's just a whiny baby, dude. He's just always whining. Like he thinks he's one of those guys who thinks he's funny and he's not funny. Like he's so used to people laughing around him because of how popular he is.
J.J. Watt for sure has lived an entire life with people fake laughing at his jokes.
Yes, including Butch Jones, who probably claims J.J. Watt, even though he transferred away and was coached by good coaches at Wisconsin.
I miss Butch.
I'm sorry, continue.
I'm sure he's a nice guy. Like I just think he's way too whiny. I just don't think he's not who I want sitting next to one of the greatest broadcasters of football that's going in the NFL today. So like I just don't want him beside Eagle. Leave Ian alone.
They're just doing it because he's a name, right?
Sure.
Right. I mean, he was part of the Netflix roster on the Christmas Day games. That was his.
Was he?
Yeah, he called a game with Ian Eagle on Christmas.
Oh. And
he's done stuff with CBS. He's done studio stuff with CBS.
No, I know. I've seen him do the studio stuff, but like, I don't know. I'm at a place with former athletes doing broadcast stuff where I would like more Greg Olson's and less Tom Brady's.
And that's the point. Like Greg is incredible.
He's so good.
And he has to play second fiddle to
Yeah.
someone who's not as good in Tom Brady.
Tom Brady's more famous.
I've been hating on Tom since he started. He's just not that good. He's a robot.
My first time really getting to listen to Brady do a game was when the playoffs happened because I'm working on Sunday, so I don't catch Tom Brady's games very often. But it was just, and even in the Super Bowl, like I think we talked about this the day after the Super Bowl. Like his best analysis of Patrick Mahomes was, "Oh, look how uncomfortable he is. Look at his footwork."
Just doesn't really.
Okay, Tom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Doesn't bring much to the table.
That is correct. No,
Yeah.
and it doesn't mean that they can't get better. Like they're obviously excellent at what they do. They're two of the most accomplished athletes. Well, JJ is not accomplished in terms of winning, but JJ Watt is also one of the best football players I've ever seen, no matter how much I hate the Captain America, corny personality stuff.
They're also just paying Tom Brady too much money not to be the dude.
I don't think that's true.
You don't think so?
No, because Fox, like big Fox, not just Fox Sports, is running him out there at upfront meetings and being like, we can have Tom Brady do your ads. That alone, Tom Brady is worth the money. Tom Brady is underpaid by that metric. $37.5 million is not enough for the amount of revenue that Tom Brady is going to bring in because he's famous.
I did not know that they would get the money from Tom Brady's endorsements.
That who would get the money from Tom
Fox.
Brady? Yeah, the Fox signed him to that deal, not to be a representative just of Fox Sports, but to be a Fox network representative.
Yeah, he's doing those Duracell. Is it Duracell? The battery commercial with Kevin Burkhardt.
So when they have what they call the upfronts for television networks, where ESPN will put out Stephen A. Smith in front of all their corporate partners and do a Q&A session and do a live edition of First Take. Like Tom Brady is going to Fox's upfronts and being like, I will read your battery ads.
Oh, cool. What do you think Matthew McConaughey's broke for then? Because he's in like every commercial on TV nowadays.
He's doing those AI, what is it? The one with Woody Harrelson where he's eating the shrimp.
Oh, it's
in
like
the rain.
It's like what do they call people that plan trips?
Trip planners.
Travel
agents?
Travel agent.
Like
it's
AI
travel agent. Yeah.
I like trip planner better.
I don't think that's literally what I was going to say into a microphone. Again, we are not accomplished as people who speak for a living.
Big shoes to fill for J.J. Watt, stepping in there for Charles Davis, who, as we said, will join CBS's college football crew. So, man, what a day of it. Jim Nantz retiring in 2036.
You make sure you say that.
I love
and
that.
not retiring. Retiring from doing the Masters.
Yeah. I love that in the midst of all this. Danielson out, Davis in, J.J. Watt in, and in 11 years, Jim Nantz is going to stop doing golf.
It must be nice, though, to be able to just call your shot on when you want to stop doing things.
It's amazing.
The rest of us in this industry are just, okay, sure, I'll do Fox Sports Radio on the weekends, and anything else you'll throw at me, I'll talk for money. Yes, please, God.
Anytime something is that far out, it's kind of like the Mayan calendar for me, where they're like, "Oh, the world's going to end in 2012." Yeah, okay, whatever. yeah, I'm going to retire in 2036. Okay, we'll see you then. Appreciate it.
I bet you bought those gemstone Y2K buckets too, did you?
My dad might have a couple astronaut food buckets in the basement. He was worried about eating.
2036 does still sound like just a dystopian future year. I can't even wrap my head around that.
I'll be like 40, dude. I'll be an old man. No longer long hair. I'll have a bald spot, a big old belly.
Oh, you are going to age so poorly.
Youngins running around. That's the smoke.
We'll have flying cars by then.
Well,
shut up.
Play some Pulse so we can go home.
Go to Hattie B's is where we're going.
Lunch.
Yeah. Hello, everyone listening to the Buck Rising Show. This is Benjamin Kenobi, better known as Obi-Wan. I have but one thing to say. Lucas, you...
The guy that went to jail. No, he's on it. Doug Kleinman just put it out.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. What's the dumbest thing in sports this week? Bucket says the fact that the draft is still almost a month away.
Yeah, I know.
We are exactly 1 month away, right? April 26th in Green Bay, the 2025 NFL draft.
Nope, you just lied to everybody. You're 2 days late. It's the 24th.
Damn it. Karen says the Ohio State player that would not shake Kim Caldwell's hand after their loss to the Lady Vols. I missed this. I did not. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Pulling a Mike Woodson, trying to avoid the post-game handshake.
Yeah, it's a little different with players. Mike Woodson's just old and feeble.
Yes.
Get out of here.
Very different when it's the head coach.
Maybe he's a fist bump guy.
I would fire him. I would fire him again if I could.
Program legend, he should have some respect.
Shut up.
Steven says UConn's athletic director with the "I'll ruin your life" quote. Not the athletic director, but their SID, who did have that quote to a reporter that captured Dan Hurley's ridiculous rant after losing to Florida.
This is not the same thing, and we haven't talked about it at all. Did you see the story from TMZ that an ESPN producer was on a date? Somebody recorded him, and it sounds like studio quality audio where the ESPN producer is just ripping Stephen A. Smith a new one about his Fox News appearances and what does he know about Gaza and everything else, and then doing like gotcha journalism with it, leaking the tape to the media and it getting headlines everywhere. It's crazy.
I missed that.
Yeah.
Where were they out on a date? Do you know what the establishment was?
Carbone.
Chicken tenders?
Something like that would never happen at Hattie B's.
They got the pesto.
Does Russell Wilson signing with the Giants put them out of the quarterback market? 53.2% say yes.
No, that's dumb. Out of the quarterback market? No, They should still draft a quarterback if they're in position to get you 2 or 3.
But
I didn't vote on the poll, so I could shift it really quick if you'd like.
The results are in. The results are final. But it
He
does.
puts timers on these things. I don't understand why
they only
he
have
does.
3 hours. You do it because it's from your account.
Oh, I thought I was going to catch you. I thought I had you
Do
there.
they have?
Except you tweeted a poll from your account today. How about that?
Well,
from
you
Gotcha
did that.
Journalism?
I don't know why I gave you my Twitter password. It does make the Giants trading up to number 1 less likely, right?
Yeah,
Like
that
it just does.
specifically, yes.
Yeah,
that specifically.
The fact that they're finding that solution. How many SEC teams are going to make the Elite 8? Majority of the votes went to 3 or 4, 66.8%.
Half the field.
Second most, went 1 to 2. Only 9.5% said 5. 5% said 6, which is the most that could make it with Tennessee and Kentucky playing each other.
I will say 3. 3 feels safe.
What will the Steelers do at quarterback if they can't sign Aaron Rodgers? Tyler says Mason Rudolph is the dude. Next year, we grab a QB in the first. It's that easy. That is apparently a Steeler fan reaction. If that's the case, then you're probably talking about the first losing season in Mike Tomlin's career.
One would think.
Those are the polls.
Excellent. That's the show. We're off to Hattie B's. Our sugar mama is going to take us to lunch, which is really Bert via Hattie B's gift card. And we're excited about that. Have a great rest of your afternoon. Prime time tonight, 7 p.m. I'll see you there.
Do you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
We've got the trucks, all the trims, all the towing, all the bells and whistles, and all at Truck Month Savings. Two Rivers Ford is Ford Truck Central.